Cool. All right. It's just me for now. Hello. Um, the others will be here hopefully soon. Well, Boo might not be here. We'll see. Because he was feeling kind of tired. Which I don't blame him, because I had a fucking awful day before getting to here. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah. Let me tweet this. I think I already tweeted it, actually. I gotta send it to the Discord. Up. Sure. Go. Okay. Cool. Well. Yeah, so hello out there. It's just me for now. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Um, Welcome back to Table Talk, Discussion and Discourse. I, as always, am your host, Alejo, aka Greydon95. And as I said before, your co-hosts, or my co-hosts, will be here later, hopefully. We shall see. Well, at least Aiden probably will be here in a few minutes or so. But we shall see if Boo attends tonight, because, again, tired. Which, again, I understand entirely, because I did not sleep until, like, past 10 a.m. Today. And then I woke up at, like, 6 a.m. after fitful rest. So, for now, it's just me and my tired self. So I hope, again, I hope you're doing well. And yeah. I'll wait to do comments and stuff until I get at least one co-host in. But today we're gonna be talking about what is it? Fucking my brain can't work today. It's great. Oh, hello. Hello, welcome. We are live. There you go. You did it. Hey, Pizza Funk. Hey, Dracker Kraken, and hey, Royd Rage Rules. How you doing? Hey, buddy. I don't know if you've Royd, if you watch Armored Skeptic, but every time he says "Hey, buddy," I get like I'm so happy every time because he says it in such a way that makes me happy. It's really nice. Yup. He makes good stuff. It's good. Anyway, so welcome. As I was saying, we're going to be talking about pacing today, but before we do that, we have a single comment to go through. Just one. Yes. It is from Lux. Lux Armok, as the long man of comments for us, gives us this little tidbit here. Yes, exactly. As is usual. So Lux says on last episode, I've started watching the Devils and Dice campaign, so it'll probably be a while before I post any more comments on the older videos. I was barreling through the discussion and discourse episodes before, so now I need to catch up with myself on them. Which, cool. I hope you enjoy them. Alright, looks like I was... Oh. Yeah. Alright, looks like I was totally mixed up on the finesse rules for Pathfinder 2e and D&D 5e, so I should probably just say that I would have to learn those systems before I could really decide how I would handle it. For now, I'll just say that I'd want to work something out to make it so players would have some kind of incentive not to totally dump strength if they want a high damage melee build. You can't hear Aiden. That's fun. Hold on. It's my end. I know what it is. You should be able to hear him now.
Hello, greetings. I am your second host, ItsSneakyAdolf.
There you go.
Doing the bit twice. Didn't die the first time.
Hey. Uh, in that case, let me go over here and make sure that this also. Oh no, that also does. Okay, we're good. Yeah. I had forgotten apparently to add in the Discord audio thing that I have for the separate track over here. So that's good. I'll have to check the recording later. Uh-oh. But we shall see. Anyway, so like I was saying, actually let me check this really quick. Sorry. Okay, we're good. No, it's on that track, so it should be okay. Anyway, so yeah, I would definitely say learn the system before you, really, do too much. Because I think with Pathfinder at least, and with D&D, I think there's plenty of options in order to not make it so they just dump everything into strength for high damage melee stuff. I think there's plenty, so you're okay. Next up, yeah, I guess punish isn't the best choice of words for the paladin example. Of course, a paladin being one roll away from death is just a Tuesday. What? Though, actually thinking about it more, how much danger the players want me to get them, to let them get into would probably be a talk worth having in session 0. To be clear, I won't give plot armor to any character. If they place themselves in danger, they take on the risk. If the dice decide to kill them, they will die. And I won't save them if they do something absolutely foolish. But under circumstances where it would make sense, I might give an NPC group. I might have an NPC group join a battle if the players involved start to get overwhelmed. Those won't be overpowered NPCs who destroy the enemy through the power of narration, though. They'll be statted NPCs who join the battle, potentially turn the tide, but not end it on the spot. Characters might still die, but a TPK could be prevented without stealing the scene from the party. Totally agree. That's a fine way to do it. I don't... Like we said with the covering the whole guy who was super into... What's his face? Luke or whatever, DM layer, who's like, I'd rather have a TPK than use NPCs to save the party. I'm like, okay. So, yeah.
I will say I do tend to be a bit more on the TPK side.
Sure.
Because, like, if you have a character that dies, like, you have a character that dies, just make a new one.
Absolutely.
But I can also say that, like, I can see the merit of NPCs joining a fight if it makes sense for them to.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not gonna just, like, make a party and then drop them off in the middle of a combat.
No, of course
and just
not.
be like, whoa, NPCs are here now at this dungeon, and their adventurers just like you, and they just happened to be here at the same time as you, because it feels very like it feels very Game of Thrones season 8 because it's like what's his face swam ashore here from the dragon attack just as Jamie was like getting here, and now they're gonna have a sword fight. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I understand entirely, and I agree. Like, it has to make sense, obviously. That's what we advocate for, mostly, with everything. So, just as long as it makes sense, it's fine. And as long as it's not just a Deus Ex Machina, you're alright. Let's see. I'll wait and see whether you review the extra credits video before I talk much about it. Maybe. We'll see. I will say this much, though. If the writer thinks we justify killing enemies in the game because they're evil, that's a pretty shallow take. We're not playing cops and robbers here. We don't need that excuse to fight someone. We'd fight hostile humans as readily as we'd fight orcs. Also, I like orcs the way they are. In Warcraft 1 and 2, I went straight for the orc campaign. Didn't really touch the human campaign until later. The whole appeal was in bringing a tide of destruction upon the world and burning human civilization to the ground. I don't really want my orcs getting turned into green humans. That's fair. And yeah, we've talked about it before. This whole trying to make orcs into something that they're not, and like making it a political correctness issue is very strange. And I agree. I'd rather be orcs than green humans. You know, there's something that you can
Yeah.
do more with that, right? Because in Pathfinder specifically, actually, Pathfinder 2e, one of the ancestry things for your orc, one of the feats that you get is like something diplomat or something, and you take it because your orc is like, hey man, or your orc or half orc is like, hey man, fucking orcs get a bad rap, and I'm trying to build a bridge between the civilizations, right? Like of humans or whatever and orcs to make it so that people are like less inclined to think that orcs are savage and all that shit because we aren't. Um, which is interesting because that opens up a bunch of possibilities for the world of like, hey, how do people actually treat orcs in this place? Are we going to have an easier time getting people to understand that I'm not a monster, or all that kind of stuff? And then
Yeah,
you have the
so
orcs that are actually monsters.
like I don't like this thing of um orcs are humans but green.
Mm-hmm.
Elves are humans but gold and with trees.
Yep.
Dwarves are humans but with stone and ale.
Yep.
Like, I'm all for um definitely having cultures, because hell, even orcs have a culture in my
Yes.
world. They're actually the favored race by the Lord of the Gods,
Oh,
um
nice.
be- because he's a warrior god.
Ah, gotcha.
And um like, the orcs are basically his children.
Cool.
Um, and they have their own culture, but they are definitely on a corner of the map
Mm-hmm.
because humans have basically taken over the geography and they don't want orcs in their lands.
Sure. Yeah.
And there's a company or a country rather,
Mm-hmm.
that's just called like basically Altrusnia,
Mm-hmm.
after uh, the god Altrush.
Okay.
And they're basically like, don't go here. And the countries that border Altrusnia have like heightened guard patrols because
Mm-hmm.
of how often orc raiding parties have come.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's also those countries that have poorer relations with orcs,
Mm-hmm.
because Steve down the street used to know Bob, who was killed by orcs.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, Steve now dislikes orcs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Dwarves helped in like a war 1,000 years ago.
Yep.
And like, there's a country that basically exists now that wouldn't exist without their help.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Um, and like, I'm all for races having a culture of their own,
Mm-hmm.
um, and being basically independent from humans, and that they have their own story and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not for neutering a gender base, or neutering a race rather,
Yeah.
um, just to make them human and then go yay.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I like not to say that you can't do the kind of um if you want to make the story however you want. If you really want orcs to be green humans, then go for it. Like, I have no issue there, right? There's nothing wrong with playing your world however you want it to be played. The problem, of course, is the people on the outside saying that this is the way that it is all the time, whereas they have no idea um how these orcs have been portrayed in this world, or really the fact that they're trying to inject it with such a vigor of their politics so that they can have this moral high ground to cancel this game because they think that it is this way when no one else thinks that, and also it's a fantasy
Yeah.
race that doesn't exist. um so you know.
there there was a thing I saw about I think it was on the Mauler subreddit.
Okay.
uh, about like how uh clearing out nature and like industrialization is bad
Mm-hmm.
and war is bad,
Mm-hmm.
and that going over a reader's head,
Yep.
and then the reader going, orcs are brown, brown people bad. And that's the only conclusion that they get from the Lord of the Rings.
I know the exact fucking image now that you're talking about. That's great. Yeah, it's one of those things where people just don't see the nuance. They just see what's in front of them, and it's crazy to me. I don't understand that. Um, or at least, sorry, they might see the nuance, but they read it in one way, only one way, and they're just like, no, this is the way it is because fuck you, because we think it's that way. It's like, okay, well, what am I supposed to do here?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, anyway, so as long as they don't change my fucking space orcs, I'll be all right. I need my boys, my knobs, and my fucking war bosses and every. I need them to be good forever.
Dude, I don't know. Games Workshop is kind of slow on updating lore for our races.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
know.
really think the Gretchens have that much lore that's going to change about them?
No, God, no. No, Gretchens will never have anything change. Don't worry. They're not gonna do like a Skarsnik for like Age of Sigmar, right? Like they're not gonna
Yeah,
make a Gretchen leader for 40k. That'd be cool. I'd be impressed.
yeah.
Um, but we'll see.
It
It
would
wouldn't fit.
really make people wonder how humanity survived
Yeah.
if space orcs, fungus people that they are,
Mhm.
were on our planet, and thus, you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, um, but to say that PCs would prefer a TPK is a little much, though. Oh, for that part, I think it was more the saying of the DM preferred it, not the PCs. Um, but I would also say, yeah, that's true. Um, I have an enemy NPC that TPK'd the party that I use as an ally to them in other games to drive up their paranoia. Hell yeah. It's all in the moment to decide to TPK or save. So, I know myself and Aiden, we don't pull our punches really. Um,
Yeah.
we just let it happen. There's no unless it makes sense that somebody is there aiding the party or is in the process of becoming to or coming to that situation to aid them in some way, even if they don't know it at the moment. Then it would make sense, sure. But again, you have to set these things up. It's the only way to really make it work. Um,
Mm. I,
if
I
I
have
oh go on.
I have a team of NPCs that were introduced session like 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
Basically the first time that I went to the Adventurers Guild,
Yeah,
to be basically their rival characters.
yeah,
Um, because they took a job to clear out some harpies, and I rubbed my hands because I knew they'd take the job,
right.
and there was a harpy child waiting for them to take care of them. And of course, when they got up there, the rival party had already cleared all of the harpies out, and they were like, God damn it. And as they were standing around, as the rival party left, trying to figure out whether they wanted to stay or like just call it a day, the harpy child
Mm-hmm.
actually like came out, and like that was the introduction of Wrigley.
Yep.
Um, and like um what I'm planning on is having that rival party basically show up a few times, and each time they're a little more morally questionable.
Sure, yeah.
Like each time you're like, I don't, like a whole family of harpies. And finally they'll be working for Malnox,
There you go.
who is the big bad villain of our campaign.
Yeah, that makes sense. Cool. Um, so yeah, it's again setup. That's a important part of your games. Um, If I remember right, even Tolkien said, in different words, allegory is idiotic, and people looking for similarities in fiction are simple-minded. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, there's some truth to it. Obviously, some allegory is definitely intended. Obviously, but for Tolkien stuff, he specifically had stated like I never intended for that. And of course, there is death of the author. I won't deny that. Um, but even so, I don't think you need to look for allegory in his work to have it still be a good piece of work, right? That still
Yeah,
applies to everything,
it stands
regardless.
up on it stands up on its own two
Exactly,
legs.
exactly. So, um, yeah, it's fucking people. Anyway, so continuing on, between 3.5 and 5e, it's kind of an apples versus oranges discussion to try to debate which system is better, quote unquote. Each one has its own goal. The only opinion worth having is which one is your preference, which depends on what you want out of it. For my part, I definitely prefer 3.5 because it has so many official options for customization and rules to cover so many of the things you could want to do. And for all those rules, you don't have to use them. They're guidelines. If you want to strike out on your own and come up with your own way of handling something, you totally can. But a huge amount of work has already been done for you if you want to take advantage of it. That is a good way to put it. We have said that in many different ways, but I don't think we've said that specifically. There has been a huge amount of work there that you can just take advantage of. That is a good way to
No,
put it.
yeah.
Of course, 5e has simplicity going for it, but I can make 3.5 incredibly simple if I want to. Or rather, if a group of players want me to. If there's anything we decide not to care about as a group, we can ignore it. That said, I once spent 500 years of my life working on a system that combines standard 3.5 with D20 Future, so I could create a setting based on the original Phantasy Star series. Much blood, sweat, and toil went into that. Then we played a couple of sessions of that campaign before we found out that BESM D20 existed. In the years since, I've lost all the notes I had for it, so that's gone. That sucks, dude. But yeah, I feel you there. Yeah, I definitely think like what we said at the end of the last episode. Like it's neither is going to be better objectively. It's just what your preference is, as you say. They're fun games. Nothing is. It's just the reasoning that people try to come up with to discredit one or the other is really weird and sometimes disingenuous. And pointing that shit out is important. I think so that we can further the discussion and actually like get to the point of saying, okay, you can make these claims if you can back them up, but a lot of this is going to be your preference. And I'm fine with you having a preference. That is not a problem. You just can't be saying that this is better because of this when you can't, like when it applies to both or when it has no relevancy or. But yeah. So that's the comment. Cool. So, well, fast comment time, probably the fastest one we've had for a while. But let's move on. How about Aiden? Are you in the watch together? Yes. Just in case, right? Yeah. Well, good. Well, good. So, as stated, tonight we are going to be talking about pacing in TTRPGs. Basically, it's probably going to be very D&D centric, but probably most of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is it can apply to everything, just like a lot of topics that we cover. So this is a video by How to Be a Great GM, one of his more recent ones, talking about. Oh, that's the wrong screen there. Hold on. This is talking about beware the silent roleplay game killer, which is quite literally he's just talking about the what's it called? the I can't say words. The
Don't hurt yourself.
I can't.
You'll get there.
Yep. Pacing. It's the word. Fuck. Oh, I see why you couldn't hear him before. What? It didn't save that? Fucking okay. Sorry. There we go. Okay. Everything is set. I did this for before we go too much further. I changed some settings because we did our first dreadful depictions, which the trailer came up the other day. If you haven't checked it out, it is going to be the movie, the infamous Dracula Untold. And we watched the entire thing, and we did what we do with the videos that we cover, quite literally, with the movie.
I hated it.
It was bad. It was not a good movie. But there were parts that were funny, so that was fun when it was. But it wasn't fun overall to watch. So be excited for the cut up of that. Hoping to put that out there sooner rather than later. The Patreon version that is going to be coming out, though, is going to come out first because, one, it was easier to do because it's a lot easier to make that, because it is actually going to be a video accompanied with our audio only, but it's only going to be the parts that we pause that you see the actual movie, so you can kind of go along with what we're doing and what we're pausing at, because it's the only way that it works, because otherwise you don't really have a reference of when we paused with just our voices. So if you're a patron, get excited, because you could watch Dracula Untold with us talking about it during it. That'd be fun. But yeah, so the edited video will come out later because I have to work on it still. Anyway, that's it for that. Aiden, say something, and then chat, tell me if you can hear him.
Can you hear me?
Now we wait for a little bit just to make sure. But yes, so that'll be coming out at some point, and then there will be a good. Okay, cool. There will also be a digital distraction finally that will be released. I think on Thursday. Yes, I can. Good. Which is just something that Boo and I did a while back. While Aiden was out of commission, actually, because I don't have all the footage from back when we did a bunch of other things before. So, but that will be coming, hopefully, soon. Anyway, are you ready, sir?
I'm here for it.
Okay, let's talk pacing.
That game went so quickly. I can't believe it. It's been 4 hours of game. All of that happened in just 2 hours. How? I mean, how really? How? Because my players would have taken a week to get just there, and we're talking about I don't know. What are we doing? So we're talking about pace in your games. It's the silent game killer. How are you handling it? And if your game is dying, this might be why. Greetings and welcome to this week's video. My name is Guy, and we're talking about something that no one really thinks much about, but we've all experienced it. Game pace. This is a throwback, by the way, to one of the very first videos that we ever released on this channel, but I took that and I mulled over it and updated it and said, this is what you're getting.
Good.
So, sessions that don't seem to go anywhere.
But believe me, I'm glad you're doing that, because some of the previous ones have been interesting.
So, Alejo, right off the bat, what are your thoughts on pacing?
It's a great question. So pacing is one of those things that's a little hard for me to really understand in the moment, I guess. Or sorry, not in the moment, but more so plan ahead, right? Because my pace is set by my players, more so than me trying to set the pace. With the way that it's quite literally, how are they going to handle these situations? I'm going to put these things out there, have them be able to use whatever they want to do as long as they find these things, or if they come up with something else, then I'll make something up on the fly if I need to. But the pace really depends on, again, how they come up with the solutions, because I can't. Sometimes people will come up with something that completely circumvents a whole thing, right? And then I go, okay, that's like an hour that I worked on that's just gone, right? They did it in
smoke.
Yeah, they did it in a minute, right? Like, and I'm happy about it. And at the end of the day, it's just one of those things of like, I don't fucking know how long these people are going to take doing these things, just because I have some vague idea of maybe they could use this, certain ability or something that would then lead them to do this, right? But the ultimate pace is not something that I can necessarily plan for.
So I would be prone to agree with you. With a few minor differences.
Sure.
I'm definitely the sort of person to over prepare instead of under prepare, and like if something like just goes up in smoke in front of me,
Yep.
I just circle it in my notes, and I'm like, I'll make sure to use that later if I can, and like it makes sense.
Sure.
I do definitely have some content that has just become unusable because of the way that my players act. Like, you expect them to pick options 1 through 4, and they pick option 47.
Yes.
It's life.
Yes.
It's just part of being a DM. It's unfortunate, but oh well. My pace is determined by my players as well. And we get through content however quickly the players want. It's just part of my job to make sure that content is engaging enough that they want to get through it quickly and like see what's around the corner and like stuff like that. So that's why I try to like tailor things for specific players or like 2 or all 4 players at once. I'm fortunately blessed with a group that will just have fun in meeting up and hanging out and like having the chance to communally play D&D instead of like having to worry about like, they only got through this and this session was a bit of a slog. I'm doing my job poorly.
Right.
I do prefer to keep content engaging.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want any of my sessions to slog, and like, even if they do, I'm gonna catch myself apologizing for it being a slog.
Yeah.
But like, unless if they're doing just like a ton of travel and nothing else, like with just random encounters or something,
right,
then it can get a little sloggy. But
yeah,
usually around towns, there's more role-playing opportunities. There's more combat opportunities because there's more people you're interacting with.
Absolutely, yeah. I find it interesting that you say you want them to get through it quickly so that they can get to the next like bit of content, because I assume you mean as quickly as they want to, right?
Well, I just mean in how people have the natural tendency, I guess I would say, to once they have something they like, they go, ooh, more.
Okay.
And then, like, as soon as some content is engaging to them, they go, ooh, and then they want to explore it to its depth.
Gotcha. Like, okay, so yeah, that's what I was wondering, because I was gonna say, with the wording choice that you said, I was kind of concerned, because the them wanting to get through it quickly made me go, I would rather them savor it But it sounds like you're
Oh,
saying the same thing in just that they want to continue to engage with
yeah.
that stuff more.
Yeah. Yeah, no, when I say quickly, I don't mean quickly as in like get it out of the way. I mean them consume it quickly as in like greedily consuming it.
Gotcha. Yes. Okay. Then I agree 100% with that, cuz I definitely I like having my things be slower paced, I guess, in a way of like having it so that they can take their time if they want to, right? And like actually try to savor everything that they can, because that's how I like to do things. So I like to give that opportunity, and like have them kind of decide a lot more of, you know, the options than me making a bunch of options and then picking from them. I very much want to set the scene and have them figure out these options more so naturally, I guess.
Yeah.
And then like yeah, it's definitely like you said with the slog kind of travel thing. That is something that I struggle with D&D at least, and fantasy kind of games, because travel is long, and sometimes you want the travel to be kind of epic in the sense of there's a lot of things that happen along the way,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but that can very much be a hindrance just because that can sometimes take forever, right? Like the example, and I'm not to say that the campaign that I was in that this happened was bad because of this. But when I was in my Wednesday group and we were traveling to another city, a major city, while we were protecting and escorting a lady of a noble bloodline to go get married, for a diplomatic kind of alliance and marriage. Then it took weeks and weeks and weeks of play. I think it took maybe a year to get to the town, right? Because we stopped along the way and we did things, because there were cities and other things like random stuff that we found along the way. And it did feel occasionally like, okay, I just want to, you know, stop traveling. I want to just get there. You know, I just want to get to the next thing. And I think it's something that you kind of, it takes a lot of skill to balance that out of like the travel is fun, and also it doesn't feel like I'm fucking like at a snail's pace, right?
Yeah. I get the desire
Mhm.
to want to feel that if you are a party playing D&D, that everything you do should be heroic, I
Yep.
guess, or like adventurous in its own right.
Noteworthy, I think.
Yeah, noteworthy would be a good word. Um, Everything feels like you would have a tale spun about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like, man, sometimes you just got to get from point A to point B,
Yeah.
and like, I've been on both sides of the screen in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
situation, and like, you just gotta travel, man.
Yeah, exactly. So there's some times where I feel like when I just say, "All right, it takes you 2 hours to travel from here to the next town, and now you're there," right? Like, and then I go, like in my head, I'm just like, I should have done something with that. You know, it just doesn't feel like I did anything, right? I just said, "Oh, you got there," right? Like, what could I have done in that case to make it? But at the same time, I don't know. Maybe they wanted to get there faster and they didn't really care about anything that could come in the way, and also I don't think anything was going to come and, you know, ambush them or anything on this path at the moment anyway. So yeah, I don't know, that's the big thing for me. Travel is the big pace thing that I struggle with. That's just the big thing. Other than that, like,
I think that's something that a lot of DMs have trouble with.
I would imagine so, yeah. And like,
Who's rolling percentiles?
right,
Like, what are the percentiles? Are we going to even use an encounter table?
yeah, exactly. um Yeah, and so, and it's just much easier to really go with the flow for like, in a town, like you said, because of all the people and all the opportunities that you have for the players. It's much easier to just go, all right, this is gonna go this way, and then you can, if you're like me and you, like, switching between people, right? That's another kind of pacing thing of how long does this person take at this station to get them to where the other players are, or, you know, where this person is. That can be a thing that is kind of hard to handle, of just how long do you spend with this one person for their scene to make it so that they feel like they did enough, right? And that they are going to be excited for more of their scene, or excited for when they actually get to the rest of the party, right? If they do. I think that's another harder thing to do, but I think it's easier than travel. Which is an interesting thing to think of. But yeah. My players killed the god of the earth. One became a god, befriended the mushroom people, and allied with the forge master of the tree folk in 2 hours. Traveling through a forest can be wild. That's pretty great. I like that a lot. Yeah, it's one of those things where it's sometimes, like, even in Devils and Dice, I never feel like we've done, like, nothing, right? I feel like it's always been pretty engaging overall. But then I look back and I go, we didn't do shit today. We did like 2 things, but I wasn't bored, and that's great. You know? It's really interesting how it kind of differs, because sometimes we can do, like, oh god, I guess the sneaking around, when you were doing your sneaking around with inside of
oh god, yeah.
You know what I mean. The sneaking around inside of that one place, that took a long time, but I wasn't bored. Yeah, and I wasn't bored about it, and, like, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't. There wasn't much that happened that day, right?
Yeah. So, like, I actually kind of feel bad whenever there's a stealth segment involving my character, because it's such a time drain.
Sure.
And, like, I'm just like, Boo and Alejo have nothing that they're doing. They're just sitting and watching me play D&D. And I always feel so bad whenever, like, that happens. Like, it works out for the best for the party.
Of course, yeah.
Usually. Or at least it hasn't worked out poorly yet.
Yeah, exactly.
But it is one thing that I do feel horrible about. And then, like, there have been sessions we've played where, like, the end of the session comes around and I, like, think back of, like, what we did in, like, universe, and it was like an afternoon.
Yeah.
And we did nothing.
Yeah, but it feels like we did.
I was like, oh.
Yeah, time's weird. Yeah. Anyway, so let's see what Guy has to say about this.
That drought, or sessions that flash past so quickly we barely notice the time. How do we control this experience? How do we capture that immersion and not the drudgery? This week's sponsor is Dungeon Fog. If you don't know who they
cool.
are.
Yeah, you have a sponsor. Oh wait, does he not? Is it just that?
When we think of pace, I'm not talking how fast the characters can run around in a single round. I'm talking about physical time ticking over, and whether or not we as players of the game, that's including the GM, experience that time. If we don't notice it, then the pace is fast. If we notice it, then the pace is slow. So this video is broken into 2 parts. The first one is quick and easy solutions, stuff that you can apply to your game tonight, for example. Okay. The second part is a little bit more complex, but you can master it. And if you do, I think you'll be a really, really great GM. So, part 1. We're all in the same burning boat. We really are. Pace hits us from 2 vectors, as far as I can tell it. It hits us from the GM side, and it hits us from the player side. I had a GM a few months ago who was adamant. It was totally up to the players to set the pace of the game.
Oh.
I believe, in my opinion, that this is complete rubbish.
Oh.
And here is why. the players can slow the pace of the game down in 3 ways. So trying to talk to one another and just going around in circles, and they just talk to death. They never actually come up with a plan. Not knowing their character's abilities and skills and having to pause to look them up all the time. I think I got a +5. I don't remember.
Get good.
Not
Yeah.
reading the intention of the group, and instead of acting, doing nothing.
Wait.
Okay. Huh. So
So, yeah, I have thoughts on.
okay. So I want to say we've gone over each of these before in previous things. But I will say the arguing without ending thing depends on a group, right? You know your group beforehand usually, and you know how they're going to interact, and then you know how the players are after a few sessions maybe. And you might get to some point where yes, they go and they start arguing about something and they don't get to a resolution, in which case I think it is your job to then go in and go, okay guys, if you get to such a degree of like it's taken an hour, right? You know, if it's become something ridiculous, then you go, okay guys, we gotta go around, we gotta, like, let's just roll it or something. I don't know, we just need to progress somehow, right? But that's in an extreme case, because usually you don't get to that point. At least I would hope not. Yeah, not knowing your skills and abilities is literally just something that you should just, like, learn, read, do that, put it on your sheet, have a sheet in front of you.
Yeah,
I
I was
don't
gonna say, hell, I have a notebook that contains both Boris, my rogue, and Morty, my paladin,
Yeah.
and that has my skills and abilities of both in excruciating detail.
Yeah. And, like, so, and the other thing is, it doesn't necessarily, like, slow the game to such a degree when somebody looks at something for a second, right? Like, sometimes you forget something, or you want to check to make sure you did something correctly, then you do so, and then you continue to go on. I don't think any of us, like, even when Boo doesn't know something in Devils and Dice, we give him the time to look it up, and it doesn't take more than, like, a couple of minutes, maybe max, right? It's
Google
nothing.
is your friend.
What?
Google is your friend.
Yes, very much so. Like that, in any kind of site or cards or whatever you can use to keep track of information, it's incredibly easy to do so. If you recognize that you are one of those people that needs those kinds of things, please, actually try to make an effort and figure out how to do it, right? But it's definitely, like, I don't think even if you don't, it won't take that long unless everyone is that way. And even so, maybe they're all new players. Maybe they need a little bit of guidance. Maybe give them a little time. I don't know. And then not reading intention of the group. Some characters aren't gonna know the intention of the group.
So before we move too far into not reading the intention of the group,
sorry.
I want to mention not knowing your skills and abilities.
Yeah.
As someone who had first-time players for his campaign for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and then when they got up to level 6, I had someone else join the campaign and rolled a level 6 rogue right off the bat.
Right. Yeah.
And didn't know what he could do, but I read through a level 6 rogue, designed basically stuff where he could shine, and was well, you can sneak around here, you can do this, you can do this, and I had his kit memorized, and then helped him know examples of how to use his stuff.
Yeah.
I will also say, it's regards to all 3.
Mm-hmm.
But just because they can argue without ending, they can not know their skills and abilities,
Right.
yada yada, doesn't mean they will.
Right, exactly. This is very much something that is not always going to be the case. So
I agree with you fully that players can slow the pace down.
sure.
They definitely can.
Mhm.
I as a DM myself, it's an unfortunate fact that I've dealt with, and like I've had people argue and been like, "Okay, guys, what are we doing here?"
Yeah.
But like that being said, um it's kind of part of, I don't want to say the player contract for them to have proper pacing, but I imagine that everyone is kind of cognizant of pacing and then going to themselves like, all right, guys, come on. And the DM only needs to ideally step in extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
Um,
Exactly.
most of the time, like you're adults,
Yes.
or
Usually.
usually sometimes you're kids,
Right.
but it's kid monitored, kid played, like
Mm-hmm.
you are usually of the same age, usually, not always, but
Not always.
usually
Yes.
of the same age as your players.
Mhm.
So like you're gonna have fun just like hanging out and listening to them anyway.
Yeah, that's the hope, I would think. Like like Draco Kraken says, I find that if my players are talking, discussing plans, that even if it lasts for 30 minutes, I'm happy because it means they care about the world and the impact it has.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually care about each other's characters and actually like trying to make a decision together and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I agree 100%. I it's one of those things where like, okay, I have an example from my Wednesday group. One of the people in the Wednesday group, when we were kind of taking our break, before we took the break, we kind of had like just a get together just to kind of decide what was going on, and who was going to be running what, and if we were going to do anything, during the interim, of the main campaign. And one of them said like, "Hey, I'm not too into combat like at all." And when I am doing role play or when other people are doing role play, it feels like it takes, I feel like I might take too long, or I don't know why I would, describe what I'm doing when it's innocuous and other people aren't there to see it and stuff. And we kind of went over like, well, okay, first off, if combat is nothing to you and you'd rather do the character stuff, why is the character stuff like boring you in a way? And like kind of went over that. And then like, just because somebody isn't watching what you're doing, actually doing these things is something that kind of builds your character for yourself as well, and it actually makes them feel more real. Plus the people at the table are able to see that and see that you care about this character and all that kind of stuff. And like, it's one of those things where it kind of goes hand in hand with this pacing thing of some people just want to take a slower pace and actually like, explore these kinds of things even if the other party isn't around. And these arguments can come about because they know their characters better and actually like get to a point of where they feel comfortable enough like talking in character to each other and actually like understanding each other's perspectives in that way through that character. And it becomes something that is, again, more than just a character. It has then become that person that you're playing, right? I've said it before, you're playing a life in a role-playing game. You are playing a life. So there are a bunch of things that are going to be happening that are just a part of that life that might not be like fast, interesting, all that kind of stuff. You might have big long arguments, you might, do all that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, you're playing the game still, and that's part of the name of the game is a role-playing game, right? Like you're gonna get into these situations, and
if not, the TM's gonna design them.
Yeah, exactly. And like occasionally things might slow down, but I don't think that's a bad thing. I feel like, again, sometimes you can just go, this is the way that it is because we got to this point. We needed to have this talk so we could understand where each of us is coming from and the situation at hand. Right? Like, we needed this. Or maybe we didn't. I don't know. But somebody needed this, I guess. So let's just go through it and figure it out. Right? I don't know. That's the one like the arguing without ending thing is my big kind of that, and the reading and the intention of the group, like that I'm like, I don't understand why that, like, everybody knows the intention of the group is to continue to play the game. Right? Like that's what we're doing here. We're playing the game, and if that means we're role playing for a long while, then we're role playing for a long while and we just involve other people in the discussion or whatever, or we jump between and have them do other things, right? Like that's we're still going to be playing the game. So I don't know, it's weird. It's a weird thing to complain about, that players can slow that down, because yeah, sure, they can, but is that a bad thing inherently? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Also, can we just talk about the format of where he's put these and how it's not going all the way to the bottom? I hope he puts more, but he said 3 things, and there's 3 things there, and there's a lot of box left.
The big box.
It annoys me. All right.
I don't do. Oh, wait. I just wait. Who is responsible for fixing this?
Oh, okay.
The GM or the players? Both are responsible, and here is how.
Sure.
Example number 1. When the group has discussed a plan, disagreed, discussed, disagreed, gone around and around and around as the player, as a player, the character should take a stand. Your character should just say, right, enough. I will follow your plan, or I will follow your plan.
Sure.
But we need to follow the plan. As a GM, once the argument has done a circle once or maybe twice, you interrupt them with an NPC who bursts in, my lord, something has happened. An incident. The wall collapses because there's an ogre on the other side of it. Something that forces them to either adopt their idea or to ignore everything they were ranting and raving about and just to act.
Okay.
Alternatively, both player or GM could say, guys, stop. I'm stopping this game. We're going in circles. We must make a decision, and we need to move on it now, please.
These are all absolutely fine solutions to do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. If I were sitting at a table, I would be fine with all of the above.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with these at all. Especially in the situation that has been presented of this argument has not ended for another like good 10 minutes, right? Like
I am somewhat relieved or satisfied or validated, I suppose would be the good word. That for the player solution, the GM solution, and both solution, what I thought for like as an example for each of those were like was the example he used.
Yeah, oh absolutely. I was thinking the same thing. It's just it's common sense, I think.
Yeah, as soon as like it's a player solution and you're getting bored of just sitting there, it's like just tell the fighter, all right, I will follow you on this.
Right.
Like anything to get me out of this argument.
Right, exactly. GM solution, interrupting cow. Exactly. I mean, that's just the way it is. I was literally thinking like during that, it's just like, okay, the argument's not going on, then you just chime in and go, a fucking guy comes in and says, uh-oh, big dragon came, it's gonna come and talk to us and try to make the town pay it to protect it, quote unquote. Right? Like, it's a mafia dragon. Uh-oh. But like quite literally it's a very easy solution to just go, all right, this has gone for too long, let's just have something happen so that we don't continue to do this, or maybe we can continue it later when you've had another perspective. I don't know.
It's not role playing, this is now just arguing. And I think that's a very important thing to bear in mind, is that both sides, the GM and the players, can do that. When it comes to characters not knowing their character abilities and skills, this is incredibly frustrating for everybody involved. Again, though, as a player What do you do to fix it?
You
Well,
learn.
just know your frickin' abilities and your skills and stuff. Read the bloody book.
Thank you.
If you have a bad memory or that sort of thing. Make notes
Yeah,
for yourself.
exactly.
Don't slow everybody else down because you're too lazy to invest in actually trying to move the game forward. Okay? There are online options that you can use. There are zero excuses these days, right?
Did he listen to us? It's almost like these are very interesting or very easy things to come up with. Wow.
Really, there are excuses. As a GM, your
I agree
most
with him that
powerful
there are no
tool
excuses.
is to
Yes.
it's not knowing the rules or to making up a solution on the fly, because what that does is that enables the player to remain ignorant. All you do is if a player is delaying is you say, you find out, I'll come back to you. Then you
Yeah,
move on
sure.
to the other player characters and you engage with them. You get them to do their thing. Once you've cycled through all of the other
Hell, you can be the player and say, come back to me, I need to look real quick. Right? Like you could, if you know that you're taking up too much time.
PCs, and then you get back to that player who's still going, if they're still looking up something, you say, your character doesn't act this round because they're confused, they're lost in their own thoughts. You can act next round, so start looking up what you want to do next round now. Yeah.
I would say you could do that if they are a habitual problem, right? Like
Yeah.
if this happens way too often with this person, then yeah, okay. We can
I
start
have-
doing that, but
I have fortunately not had people being unsure about what they want to do in a
Right.
round, like being a long-term issue.
yeah, exactly.
Most people that I play with very comfortably fall into a rotation, so to speak,
Sure.
of like this is what I want to do this round.
Mhm.
And then they alter that, they think creatively, like as necessary.
Of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
Which you can also see if you watch our Devils and Dice campaign.
Mm. It's true.
But I've never had to say like, oh, I'll come back to you, so and so.
Sure.
I would probably not usually say like, oh, I'll come back to you. Just because like they're still hemming and hawing when the turn comes to them.
Mhm.
If like we're sitting there for a few minutes while they decide, I'll go like, okay, make your turn or lose it.
Sure. Okay. That's fair.
Like they will have full knowledge. I will say if you want, you can also hold your turn and go later on in the
Mhm.
initiative.
Yep.
And we'll just change your initiative count to whenever you get to not holding it.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a stretch of the rules because you're supposed to only hold your initiative count unless like until something very specific happens.
No, there
So,
is also the delay option, which you delay your turn until a specific initiative. That is also a thing.
yeah. So like I'm pretty all right with people doing that and saying like, hey, you know what, you're still not ready. Fine, we'll come back to you in just a second.
Yep.
I've had to do it before for my paladin, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
Because they weren't sure whether or not to attack or to heal, and I'm like,
Mhm.
how about you let this round play out a little bit more and then make your decision.
Sure. Yeah.
And then a couple people moved and they're like, all right, I want to go now. And I'm like, well, hold on, let this person finish up their round, but I'll get back to you in a second.
Yeah, totally. As like giving them the option, of course, because a lot of I think a lot of people forget that delaying your turn is an option. Because they think I rolled this initiative, this is my initiative, I can only go on this
I
point.
have to move now or never.
Yeah, if you want a little bit more time, you can do that, but you can only get so much because you can only go as late as the end of the initiative, right? But it is helpful to have everything go before you in some cases, because then you get the full scope of the entire turn.
Exactly.
Right? So again, it's another tactical decision, I think, that people should be aware of.
The whole of the battleground and like the sort of like chess pieces moving has the chance to play out, and then you go, oh, and then you select what's optimal.
Yes. Yeah. I give a warning, and next is to involuntarily delay them. Not as harsh as skipping their turn, but if it's chronic, then yes, I skip their turn after due warning. Yeah, exactly. If it's chronic,
right.
yeah, that is a perfectly valid way to do it. If it is chronic, of course, yeah, then you start rolling out the punishment, because it's like, why are you here if you're not going to even like try, you know? That's the main thing, because usually people don't get to that point because they want to play the game with people, and like if they don't, then they're not a part of it, or they've left already, or you know, like, or they've been kicked out beforehand. I don't know. It's just
it's their turn in the combat, and then they look up from their phone and they say, "What? So what happened this round?" And you go, "All right,
yeah, come on, man.
This is a problem."
Yeah, exactly. And like, I know I myself have taken myself out of games because, one, I couldn't make the time, and two, like, it's just one of those things of just, you know, being more respectful to the players and the DM, just going, I need to not do this, right? But that's obviously not because I don't know the shit. I just need time, because I don't have much sometimes. But yeah, so we'll see. You might have a both. Ooh.
A few times. I have done that too many times, as a matter of fact. Players who want to do something different, and then they just don't do it. Players who fail to see
wait, okay. You've done it too many times. Your example is players want to do something different, and then they just don't. What? What does that have to do with you skipping their turn? Is it because they couldn't figure out what they wanted to do differently in enough time that you went, okay, you need to, like, you don't have your turn now? I need more context, my man. That just sounds weird.
Yeah.
Bigger picture, or who want to act alone. That kind of splits the party up. There's nothing wrong with that. A split party is a fun party to play with. I really enjoy it, because you can then bounce between each group, leaving the last group on a moment or a cliffhanger and that sort of thing. It really, really, really works.
Yeah.
The rogue is trying to break into a building. You have them make some stealth checks, and just before the outcome, a guard comes to stand right next to them. They freak out, and you go, and the guard... We'll come back to next.
Yeah.
That could be really fun. That keeps the pace moving along very rapidly if you jump out just at the critical moment. In the event of a player declaring their character will do nothing or just wait, well, you nod, and then you ignore them until you have dealt with everybody else, and then you come back to them and say, is your character doing anything? Really? Your character's still not doing anything? Okay, and then off you go. Just ignore them for the rest of the round. Don't spend time trying to drag something out of them. They obviously don't want to do it. As a player, you might want to engage or help your fellow player characters. If they're kind of going, oh, if they seem frustrated or if they seem disinterested, here is a chance for you to jump in as a great player and interact with them and say, hey, I want you to come with me. I need your expertise. That sort of thing. I mean, that's what you can do.
Okay. Yes, I agree. I guess inactive in this case just means they just don't do a lot in the sense of role play or really making decisions in that kind of respect. In which case I go, because passive as well is part of that. In which case I go, okay, maybe they aren't comfortable exactly with it, and so yeah. I like the idea of the player trying to, you know, get them into the situation a bit more, whereas I don't necessarily like the idea of the GM only going, okay, you're done, and just going ahead, because sometimes some prompting can be good. Like quite literally asking them what they're thinking about the situation maybe, and then going, okay, so because of that, how do you think you would act then? Right?
Yeah. I've had to do that with my rogue that I started out like mid-campaign.
Yeah.
Because their work schedule changed.
Yeah.
Was they were unsure what to do, and I basically am just like, so what do you think about this whole scenario? And
Right.
then they're like, oh well, I want to do this, but I also want to do this, and like I'll work on some way to get them to do both, or say like, well, if you do this, then like they might respond by doing this, whereas if you do this, it might be a bit safer for you, and like sort of like work them through that process, and like
Yeah.
give them the tools that they need to think critically about this situation,
Exactly.
and hope that they implement those tools on their own,
Mhm.
which fortunately they have.
Yeah, exactly. There's only so much you can do. And like I agree at some point maybe you might have to get to the point of like more ignorance of them, I guess, but I don't think that ever needs to be your first fucking option. Really. Like that's a weird thing to say, you know. Gotta go. We'll catch the rest later. See you, Dragon Kraken.
See ya.
But yeah, it's very strange.
Part 2. Welcome to part 2. This is where you need to step up your game if you want to step up the entire game.
Okay.
How do you do it? How do you manipulate time and plot to keep the pacing going? Well, it's easy in theory and tricky in practice, and that is what you have to do. You have to practice. I had to do it, and it takes a long time. So maybe I'm a little bit slow, but it does take a long time. So the party is doing something. Let's say they're trying to cross a raging river. The river is swollen with rain.
Okay, wait. So he doesn't read that, so I want to read it.
Yeah.
Most GMs who have good pacing in their games have spent hundreds of hours running games. Most GMs who have played the game for hundreds of hours and still have bad pace have not been aware of what affects pacing.
I think a myriad of issues can affect pacing.
Yeah, it's not just the GM's fault. Don't
It's
think.
not just the player's fault either.
Exactly. So I guess that does apply.
Granted, yes, I guess you could boil down both options to say, well, if you're playing D&D, there's only the GM and the players, so it has to be the fault of one of those two. Yes, it does technically fall under that catch-all, like umbrella terminology of it is the DM or the player's fault. But there's a lot of things that can affect pacing, and I don't think pacing that would be called quote-unquote poor by this video is problematic in and of itself.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is like I agree with the first part of yes, if you have good pacing, you have more experience. Sure. You probably have more experience, or you grew lucky. I don't know.
I mean, like, yeah, I'm willing to say that is likely to happen. Like
sure.
that if you have a lot of experience playing, you probably do a better job of it.
Yeah, and then like I also agree that some GMs who don't know or that aren't aware of what is affecting their pacing have worse pacing. That is also something that I would say is very true. It's just it's more of a general statement that applies to literally anything. If you aren't aware of something that makes something worse, then it's going to continue to be worse. Like it's not something that I don't think it needs to be stated, because if something is bad and not being fixed, then it's going to continue to be bad, I guess. But yeah, it would be better to just say that there are a myriad of things that can go wrong or that are affecting a game to get you to having a bad pace. Whether that be in the game, out of the game, or just in general in life. it could be just a bunch of different things that like pile up. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, let's see what he's got.
It does take a long time. The party is doing something. Let's say they're trying to cross a raging river. The river is swollen with rain. There we go. You've done your job. You've described the river, the broken trees, the remains of a bridge that hang like a skeleton over the cold, frosted waters. All that wonderful stuff, okay? But the party has reached a stalemate. They don't know how to proceed. One member has gone looking for another crossing lower down. 2 members are setting up camp because they want a long rest. And a 4th member is just waiting. The game has stalled. The one going...
That's not stalling. Somebody is trying to do something. Another person is kind of hanging out with the guys that are trying to have a long rest because they think that maybe it'll, I don't know. I'll assume, and this is an assumption, that they think maybe if we wait it'll become easier to cross, or they just really want that long rest because they've had a long trip. Like, that's still something that they're doing. It's not a stalemate. You just go, okay, you have a long rest, now what? It's not a stalemate. They're still choosing to do something.
And besides, didn't you say a split party is a fun party?
Yeah. This isn't bad.
Alone. Once I'm out of earshot, I'm going back to town. I need to do some shopping.
Okay, well, now we're just creating a weird scenario, but okay. In that case, okay.
Okay, so hold on.
Yeah.
In the scenario which you have built for yourself, guys,
Yes.
there is a river that the crossing has been washed out, and it is close enough to the town to be within walking distance, yet somehow there are no NPCs working on fixing it.
Right.
/ it has not been fixed by them recently already. If they can go shopping casually. So then in that case, why does not the party think to themselves, I can go back to town, get some shopping done, spend the night, maybe ask the innkeeper about who's repairing the river that they obviously know the crossing has been washed out.
Yeah. Or maybe they don't, and I should inform them.
Yeah. And then you as a DM would have, written appropriately, I hope.
Or at least come up with something on the spot at that point. It's a very strange scenario you have created, Guy. It is a very, very strange scenario you have created to try to illustrate a point of people not making the pace go smoothly. You've created the situation, and if they're just gonna, I guess, if they're just gonna say, fuck it, I'm not gonna deal with this, and I'm just gonna go to town and do shopping, then
then sure, let them go shopping. That's what they've chosen.
Well, this is the thing, right? They said, I'm going to go, and I'm going to go look for another river crossing. I assume they didn't find one. So then they go, all right, well, I need to go that way, so I gotta wait or something, so I'm gonna go shopping. Right? Like, that seems like the natural progression there, at least, to the best of my knowledge. Again, I'm assuming things, yes. Maybe he's just like, actually, I really do just want to shop. I'm not gonna help at all anymore, I'm just gonna go and shop. Which, in that case, again, okay. You're gonna go shopping. The rest of the party doesn't know that you're going shopping.
No,
Cool.
Alejo, you don't understand. He's shopping for materials so that he can build a new bridge by hand.
Gotcha.
And none of the NPCs actually know.
Gotcha. Very much. Many things in this scenario have to be specifically the way that they are so that it can exist. I understand.
Yeah. It's the scenario which Guy has built up for himself.
Yes.
Once I'm out of earshot, I'm going back to town. I need to do some shopping. what do you do? I mean, your game has ground to a halt. A camp set up, nothing, shopping. Okay. Now, you hadn't planned anything because you intended them to build a bridge using the old trees on the side of the river then to cross it. Or, you know, there was something, but you didn't.
So you never intended for them to go and buy actual wood that is already cut so that they could build the bridge that way? You never intended for them to go and ask for a carpenter or some woodworker to come out and help them build the bridge, or to maybe get somebody who has a boat in order to, or make a boat to go across the river? You didn't intend for any other situations whatsoever except for this one situation in your mind. That's the only one that you've intended for to happen here. Do you understand how crazy that is? Like, to be fair, sure, you can intend for them to do things one way, but you have to assume that there are other ways that they could maybe do it. Right? Is that crazy? I don't know. Maybe I'm...
That D&D would be naturally open-ended.
Yeah, right? Like, is that something that I shouldn't be assuming anymore? I don't get it. I'm just imagining the other characters thinking this character died whilst looking for another way across. Nah! Right? You then cause panic. Neat. I don't know.
Yeah, just like announce to the table that their character is dead, and then cause them to go, what? And then like cause them to be like, wait, what the fuck? And then like pass them a note saying your character's fine, I'm just fucking with the table or something.
And then they start like dredging the river, and it's like, oh my god.
And have them go, oh no, we need to go now. And then you as a DM just go, mm-hmm. And then once they come up with a solution around and like over the river, you just have that character show up.
Realize that they were just going to stop because they've either got disinterested or they're tired of this thing. So anyway, because of the actions of the PC.
Okay, now you're making the assumptions because the long rest implies that they need it for some reason. Whether that's spell slots, whether that's health, whether that's whatever that they get from it, that is so that they can help the situation. That is the implication, at least, that I get from them wanting a long rest here.
There is some sort of like spell slots or something that will help them over it.
So why are we just assuming they are disinterested in the situation entirely?
Yeah.
Why is that the first thing that you jump to, guy? I'm sorry, but why?
Like, the way you fix this mentality is you go, okay, you've had a long rest.
Yeah, exactly. Now what? What do you do?
Yeah, now what?
And then you can figure out.
And then you look at the person who said that I want to have a long rest, and you just stare at them deadpan like the biggest idiot in the room. And then you go, okay. And then like sort of like shake your head back and forth and like flip one hand up like, okay, and then you just watch them sputter.
Then you know that was their entire plan. That was it. They just wanted a long rest.
That was as far as they thought ahead. What now? Well, I don't know. I didn't think I would get this far.
Honestly, I was just seeing if you would call my bluff. It's like, what do you mean? This is a mechanic. What do you
What do you mean I'd call your bluff?
You want a long rest? We can do that.
That was a legitimate option for you, but now you still have a river in front of you. I don't know what you want me to do about it. I'm just the god.
I'm just here. I'm just telling you about the river. It's huge.
I'm just the narrator.
Oh,
Who put
man.
this river here?
Yeah, when did this get here? I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody better do something.
Decisions that you have made, you have been now you find yourself been in the situation of not having anything to do. Now, you could throw in a random encounter, but that doesn't get them across the river. They're just going to fight that, and then they're going to probably take a long rest after the encounter because they did a fight, right?
Whoa.
Oh, poor guy's allergic to long rests.
A single fight causes a long rest. Maybe if they get really hurt, sure. And they use a lot of spell slots, I guess. How the fuck? This is a hard fight that you've just randomly thrown at them. Also,
long rests and cheating. Guys' two biggest fears.
And like...
also glasses of water that taste like cum.
Yes, exactly. This is... Okay, so first off, yeah, you could send a random encounter at them if you wanted to, just for the fuck of it. Why wouldn't you have it be for a reason? I don't know, right off the bat. Like, maybe it is a hill giant that has come to try to raid the city of its people because it's hungry and it's food, right? Because it like to eat everything. And then they kill it, and hey, guess what? Now it falls down and it blocks off the river, or at least is there enough so that they can climb on top of it and over it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we have a river in our way, and all we have is this freight carrier. What will we do?
I understood that. The canal needs to be a bit clogged so that we can go across. I don't know what can we do.
I don't know how to get across. It's just I have this freight carrier, and I guess I'll take a long rest. Oh, the freight carrier's still there.
Oh man, it's one of those things where it's ridiculous to just assume immediately that this is quite literally just they don't want to do anything. Maybe that one character who does apparently chronically not do anything, who is still in your game for some reason, doesn't want to do anything, sure, but come on, man, let's think a bit, let's use our brain a little bit. Oh man.
And then they're going to probably take a long rest after the encounter because they did a fight, right? Or they're going to fight it and go, oh, it's too dangerous. No, we're going somewhere else. All right, so that's not going to work. So an encounter won't work.
Wait,
the river's
we're not going to fight it. It's too dangerous.
No.
Rest.
No.
You have an option.
I was gonna say no. They fight it, and apparently they win, or maybe they don't. I don't know now, but either of those has now got them to the conclusion of this situation is too dangerous. We should go a different way. In which case, we've started to do something else. We are going to find another way around. A different way to get to the goal. You realize that is progress, right?
Yeah, the state of the game is changing.
Like, come on, man. What are you doing? Why are you trying to make this a bad... Every option that they choose is the option that they choose. And I know this is because you don't like the players having or them controlling the pace. But you realize you can control the pace after they figured out that they want to do a different thing, right? You can control that pace is this way, right? Like, come on, man. What are we doing here?
Suddenly drying up. That's weird. Why would that happen? Your solution lies in understanding your plot structure. Plot structure. So we talk about, on this channel, we talk about the 3-act structure, a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we also talk about the 5-step process, which has a similar kind of structure. And each of those steps is broken down into its own little micro steps, a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Oh my god, I'm sorry.
So that means that...
Okay, I will let you control it.
Here, there you go. How's that?
Look at that. You see that? What we just did, Alejo?
Yeah.
Conflict resolution.
I know. We talked about
whatever. I will follow your lead. Whatever beats endlessly arguing.
We hadn't even started.
Wow, look at that. It took 30 seconds, not even 30 seconds.
I do want to say this 3-act
And we're
structure and
not-
5-step method is the same thing. It's just 5-step method is the 3-act structure, but a little bit like the middle part is now 3 parts.
Discover plot is not plot. Journey to new plot. Kill plot. Kill plot.
I must kill the plot. I mean, I guess you could kill a
Hey.
plot. Sure.
All right.
Somebody
Hey.
has made a plot.
Hey, let's take the 5-step method
Okay.
and just apply it to Lord of the Rings.
All right. Sure.
Hey,
Intro to plot is
the stuff that happened a long time ago. The setup, basically.
Yes. Well, I was actually gonna say, if we go from the introduction of the ring into Frodo's life, I think that's the intro to the actual plot, because everything else is set dressing in a way, or sorry, lore and set dressing in the sense of establishing what the plot will revolve around.
So it being grabbed by what's his face in Gollum's lair.
Bilbo and stuff.
yeah.
Well, so this is the thing: are we looking at Lord of the Rings, or are we looking at The Hobbit? Because these are different stories.
Well, that's part of it being introduced into Frodo's life.
I guess so. Okay. So then all of The Hobbit is the intro to the plot?
All of the Hobbit is the intro to the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And
That's
then
true.
there's stuff that was even intro to the Hobbit.
That is also true.
Because like the ring is just like a ring in the Hobbit, whereas like the ring has a lot more significance in the Lord of the Rings because we know who made it.
That's true, I guess.
And we know like why they want it back. Them sending the ring wraiths to the Shire.
Yeah. Okay. All right, I see what you're saying, at least.
Journey to plot. Is this where
I thought
is that where they part ways?
I don't know. The journey to the plot, because I think that means how we're getting to. Wait, what the fuck? Discover plot is not plot? I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I know.
I'm trying to figure. Okay, so hey, Steely, how's it going? It's aka Maximus Flippimus. I like that. So okay, so intro to the plot. Wait, so we're not at the plot in step 2?
By the way,
yeah,
I mentioned the Lord of the Rings as an example for this, not even deeply thinking about how confusing parts 3 through 5 of the 5-step method were.
Yeah, I'm fucked.
I was just like, let's pick a story I know well.
Yeah.
And like that is a good example of a story done well. The Lord of the Rings. Because I'm so inundated with Mahler recommending The Lord of the Rings as a good story.
It is.
And it is. And like the fan base of Mahler and the fan base of The Lord of the Rings being like, isn't The Lord of the Rings fucking great? And me going, yes.
Yes. Lord of the Rings definitely follows the 3-act structure in all of its everything. Like,
yeah, because it's just vague enough to put it however you want.
Well, yeah, it quite literally works. Usually the 3-act structure isn't just called beginning, middle, and end, but yeah. 5-step method I have never heard of before now because I don't fucking understand how you discover the plot is not the plot.
Yeah. if you have a 3-act structure of a beginning, middle, and end, yes, that's vague enough you can apply it to anything, real or fictional.
Yeah.
Because everything's going to have a beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah. Yeah, Pizza Funk says that's interesting and all, but where does the Silmarillion fit into this? Well,
intro to plot, I guess.
but that's the thing. This is the thing. Well, for that, yes, it is intro to plot because that is specifically just to. I haven't read it, obviously.
And each of those steps.
Okay. So
yeah, but like the Silmarillion is also like the Tolkien Bible.
Right, but does it have any other stories inside of it? Right.
Nothing recent.
Nothing. Okay. Well, even so, all of those stories are probably structured in some way, right? That's what I'm saying with how these things are. Because again, yes, the Silmarillion and the Hobbit are structured in such a way that they are themselves their own stories. Doesn't matter that the stuff is built upon it. You can still understand it without, right? So I guess, yes, they are intros to the plot, but I think we're looking at specifically just the story itself, the self-contained one, right? In which case I go, intro to the plot is everything before they leave from the Shire in Lord of the Rings Fellowship, at least, right? Everything before they leave the Shire, then they're making their way to I guess Rivendell. That's the journey to the plot, because then... But there's no discovering plot is not the plot in Lord of the Rings, because everything matters.
Because it's all about undoing Sauron.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this 5-step method must apply to certain things, I guess. Let me see if I can find anything.
The only twist that happens is like in Rohan, where you find out Wormtongue is actually working under Saruman.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't even say that's discovering the plot is not the plot.
Yeah.
It is, I guess.
He's fucked this up. He's fucked this up.
What?
This isn't how this is described. The 5-stage story structure is exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, and resolution.
Yeah, it's the hero's journey.
Yes, exactly. Why the fuck did he do this? What is this?
At the point before the rising action and like the intro, you have the call to action.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Which is defined as the point in the hero's life where nothing can ever be the same.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I remember that since like high school.
Yeah, that's
because I was like, yeah, that makes total sense.
Right.
Because like, how many times do we read a story and find out where nothing can ever be the same? I'm getting off topic.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely, and you can see it in the Lord of the Rings itself, like when they return to the fucking the Shire.
When the ring wraiths are like Shire Baggins.
Oh yeah, nothing will be this. In fact, the fucking Shire is burned to the fucking ground. Remember?
Yeah.
And then, like, even so, when they come back, literally after their entire adventure, they even understand nothing will ever be the same. We can't be the people we were. And Frodo fucking leaves because he can't fucking take it.
They're sitting in the tavern, and, like, it no longer holds the same allure to them because their eyes have, like, they've lost their innocence, so to speak.
Yeah, in a way.
They've gone all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen like the horrible things, and they're like, "Fuck, man! Like nothing is going to be the same for me because I have fundamentally changed as a person, and matured through this process."
Yes, but
no. Now we must journey to new plot.
Right, using this as, like, instead of just saying exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution, something that anyone can understand, we're now saying we have to be introduced to the plot, then we have to go to the plot, then we have to figure out that the plot that we thought we were going to isn't actually the plot, and then we go to a new plot, and then we destroy the plot. What the fuck are you talking about? In some cases, sure, that can be a plot, a thing that we follow, but that is not necessarily the 5-step method or 5-stage like story structure. Right?
Alejo, we have to kill the new story.
We have to let the past die, kill it if we have to.
Whatever the new story is, it's bad, and I
Yeah.
don't like it, and we have to kill it.
Right, exactly. Another example is Star Wars. After the stormtroopers murder Luke's family, whatever choice he makes from there, he can't go back to his old life. Yeah, absolutely. The call to action is he has been already been told by Ben that, hey, your dad was a Jedi and shit, and he was really good at it. And fucking you can have this lightsaber, right? And then he goes back, and then the farm is destroyed, and his aunt and uncle are dead, and he's like, fuck, man. Now I have these robots, and one of them has this message of like, hey, we gotta save Princess Leia, because she's like, help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope. And now he's like, all right, I gotta go find him, and I gotta go save the galaxy, I guess. Fuck it. Like, nothing will ever be the same. This is such a bad way to describe this.
No, you don't understand. I've got to kill the galaxy.
Oh, no, that's what Ben Solo starts telling people. Again, you have to let the past die, kill it if you have to. That's why everybody loves the new Star Wars movies. Everyone does.
Oh god.
Anyway,
I still haven't seen the most recent one.
oh, I won't. I only watched reviews of it, and I won't watch the full thing. It's not worth my time.
I've not even seen reviews of it.
Oh, you should. They're funny.
I'm sure they are. I just, like, desperately do not care.
That is fine. It is not worth your time to invest into any of that story. It is so fucking stupid. I could tell you so many things about it because I've watched so much coverage of it because it's fucking hilarious how bad it is.
I know in the I know it involved well, I saw one review. And I know it involved them like taking a crashed starship and matching it up with the profile of the edge of a knife.
Yep.
That was forged before the starship crashed.
Yep.
And I laughed.
Yep. It is fucking ridiculous, that movie.
Like,
it is fucking garbage.
It's in this miles-long spaceship. It's at directly this level, so we know exactly where it is. It's like, well, no, the spaceship is long, dude. You have a whole dimension you're not paying attention to. I know one guy who tried to like justify it to me. And I gave him so much shit, and like I was working while I was giving him shit about it. And he's like, "No, it's a movie about space wizards for children." And
I'm like,
I like cracked my knuckles. I'm like, so what? So you can't write properly for children,
right?
No, but like children are more forgiving. It's like, so why do children have to be more forgiving? Do children not deserve quality?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you not willing to teach your children how to properly make a story?
Fucking space wizard for children argument makes me want to die every time.
Like, I think he heard somewhere that the space wizards for children argument.
It's Patrick Willems. That's the creator who fucking. Ugh.
But he didn't hear the amount of like lashback that got.
Oh sure, yeah.
So he just like repeats that blindly, and I got to repeat everything to him.
Good, because fuck me, that's something that needs to stop being an argument that people make. It's such a bad one. Oh, anyway, so Guy fucked up the 5-step method, so I'm interested to see what he talks about it being, because he's going to go into a 3-act structure and then the 5-step method, since we styled that for a second. So, here we go. Oh, wait, I hard dare to take a screenshot of the 5-step method, crop out Guy, and show Boo with no context.
Actually, yeah. Hold on.
Tell me when you got it. Yeah.
Oh, I already pressed the print screen button.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So let's just continue.
Is broken down little micro steps, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So that means that on average, you have 9 periods during your game. Let's call them markers. You have 9 markers to every one adventure.
Okay.
On the 5-step.
These are. Oi. These are a lot of odd numbers.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, there we
Blessings.
go. 3, 5, 9, like 15.
Yeah, apparently, like I like 3. 3 is a good number to me, but also I don't think. Okay.
One known at one says, "If you kill the plot, you win D&D."
Good. It's so weird. This is so weird. I need him to explain to me what the fuck this means.
Approach about as well. Each of those steps would have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and so that would give you 15 markers. Whichever one resonates with you more.
Not that one.
Either one of them. You got 9 markers or 15 markers, so you should be able to keep track of where you are, what marker you are at, fairly easily. And pacing is about how often those markers trigger. The bridge event that you've landed in. Which one of the markers is it? Where is it meant to be? Is it part of the middle marker of a journey? In other words, this is the middle section and they still have yet to get to the conclusion. Is it meant to be the introduction to a journey? By looking at the marker that you're on and which marker is coming next, you can begin to find a solution. So let us say that let's say that the bridge scene occurs in the second act of your adventure, or on the 5-step, that's roughly where discover plot is not plot. So let's somewhere around there. Marker number 5.
They discovered that the collapsed bridge is actually not a collapsed bridge, it's just invisible.
Well, they discovered that the collapsed bridge doesn't have anything to do with the plot itself and that they need to go somewhere else. Like, I don't get this.
Somewhere. But it was meant to be an introduction for that particular act. It was meant to introduce the characters to the point. The next marker, let's say that is coming up. Okay. So
usually that's how it works.
All right. So if this was meant to be, well, hang on. What was the middle marker meant to be? The PCs discover a tomb of a long dead king and must journey through it. Okay. So they were supposed to go. They find the bridge, and then they get from the bridge to this tomb, this thing that we're supposed to be finding. Now, your original plan was that once the PCs had crossed the river, they find a landslide because of all of those storms that you set up, and an entrance to a lost tomb. Quickly you realize if the landslide happens on this side of the river, it gets the PCs across the river in a hurry and into the tomb. It solves 2 problems. So by looking at the next marker, you can pull from it and just move it in a little bit earlier.
So my question becomes, are we now thinking about this before the session has happened or during the collapsed bridge moment? Because if we're thinking about this now during it, then sure, you could have an act of God happen where a landslide occurs and it makes a pathway across the river, though again, it is literally damming up a river and it'll overflow over the river, right? That's how water works, but okay.
Yeah.
What are we, why are we thinking,
No,
if we're thinking about this,
it goes through the ground because it's convenient.
Oh, it's convenient. If we're thinking about this beforehand, then there's no reason for us to have worried about the bridge scenario to begin with. So why are we worrying about it at all? If we're thinking about this after the fact, then we're already way past it. So why are we thinking about this at all?
So there's 2 things about this. The first of which is that Guy has mentioned this as a problem with pacing that must be solved.
Sure.
And he has provided us with an example that he came up with.
Sure. As most people would.
In the scenario where he comes up with his own problem,
Right.
and he gets to make it as complicated
Yes.
as he wants and talk about why pacing is an issue for you.
Yes.
Do we see how that might maybe be an issue?
Yes, absolutely. Because again, this is something that he has come up with to such a degree that has made it the issue.
It can only be solved by an act of God.
Right, exactly. Apparently, that is one of the only ways that we can do this, because we've looked ahead to see we need to get them to the tomb. How do we get them to the tomb? An act of God.
Secondly, like
when we quite literally were like, hey, there's many other options you could do in this point, but okay.
I would be real hesitant to have a swollen river that the party comes across, but oh no, the bridge is down. Oh dear. And then all of a sudden a landslide happens and they cross over on the landslide. And it's like,
why even have the...
Yeah, well, it's like, why have the scene in the first place? And then to anyone critically minded, the answer is so the DM can like stroke his dick and have the landslide happen.
That's true.
And show how powerful he is.
I control the world, bitch.
Yeah. And then you go, well, I guess that's curious. And then you pause and you go, so he had the landslide happen just as we happened to get at the river. Like,
right.
Would it not have happened at that time if we had spent longer in town shopping?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, the landslide was waiting to occur until we got there.
Oh, you're telling me God was waiting for me? Me?
Yeah. And it's like, oh boy, what luck it is that we were standing at a safe distance. And we are going to do nothing, by the way, about this river, which is now backed up. Because it's not our problem. And what we're going to do is we're going to travel on this like loose soil, which has discharged itself from the side of a mountain.
Yeah. Or
and
something.
not had a chance to settle. We're just going to walk across it as water rises. Yes, that will be a good idea.
No. See, this is the thing.
What do you mean I'm carrying 200 pounds of equipment?
No. Aiden, this is the thing. You're not supposed to think about it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I have to kill the plot. That's right.
This is ridiculous. I don't like, again, this scenario doesn't, like, through just going through each step to get to the point that we're at. It's like, why are we here in the first place? Like, just why did this have to be where we end up? We have to go. I have to figure out a way for them to not be bored by a river. We just got here.
I gotta make my river noteworthy, bitches. Damn it!
We have to be here right now. This is where we are. This is the only way.
So there's a practice which I've mentioned in watching The Room by what's his face?
Tommy Wiseau.
Yes, Tommy Wiseau. The Room and watching Birdemic and watching Game of Thrones season 8 like a lot of years ago.
Yep.
There's a practice that as I've become more critical of stories, I like to get into. And that is whenever a scene happens, just like hard cut of camera and then something starts playing out, is I think to myself, why does this scene exist?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Sometimes it's establishing your character as a villain. Sometimes it's establishing your character as a hero or as a bystander.
Sure.
Like scenes can exist for a multitude of reasons depending upon the plot of the movie. But if I'm standing at a river and a landslide happens right next to me, leaving me unharmed, and I go, why does this scene exist? And nothing comes to mind, I go, whoa.
It just, no, why does this scene exist? Oh, to get me across the river.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh.
Because the DM wants me to go across the river.
Oh, congratulations. The DM solved the problem of pacing. Shame it had to be at the integrity of his campaign.
Exactly. Like, it's so railroady. It's weird.
Actually, you know what? I've not put it... I'm not going to be able to put it a better way. Yes,
Okay.
he solved the issue of pacing. Shame it was at the integrity of his campaign.
It's
done with this. I'm gonna call my retirement off this point right now and quit while I'm ahead.
No, it's a good one.
I'm not gonna be able to put it a better way.
Steely says the characters rebuild the collapsed bridge, but put so much time and effort into it that they decide to give up the quest and instead to stay there and charge tolls to cross their beautiful bridge. Yeah, that's what would happen.
That would be discovering that the plot is not the plot, and then what you have to do as a DM is kill that plot.
And kill the plot. Because a troll comes and takes over the bridge now and charges tolls.
Yeah. So what you're doing as DM is basically reactive to the player, which is good.
Yes.
Question mark.
In a lot of cases it can be, yes.
And is a sign that you're making a good story.
I don't know if that's inherent, but maybe.
I don't know.
I need more context here. This is crazy to me. This is absolutely insane. Like, yes, okay. I understand the point he's trying to make is there is a problem here and they need to get to another place. My issue is we don't just make one solution. We allow a multitude of options here, or we plan out a multitude of options, and if they find a different option, we go with that one. Like, that's all you need to do.
I also don't quite get the hate on a straightforward plot.
Sure.
Like, yeah, sure, I get the temptation to say the plot is not the plot. You've got to journey to and kill no plot because the only option is that we use plot interchangeably with big bad evil guy.
I guess.
So we have to kill the plot.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that one, but we won't get to that.
Yeah.
I understand the temptation to have your big bad evil guy not be the one that you initially supposed he would be.
Sure.
I do. I get the desire to have a nuanced campaign. But at the same time, do you not think that the 5-step method, if I follow that every single time for creating a story, might get old and repetitive? Like every single villain that I build up as being evil at the beginning of the campaign, the players just know.
They just know it's not actually the case.
Yeah, because they know he's actually a nice guy, and that they see what he's doing in a bad light, and they go, and then they like the NPC who's real nice to them, they'll like squint at, because like I've pulled that trick so many times that they just go, okay, yeah, it's this guy.
Steely says sometimes subverting plot experiences just for its own sake just results in crap no one likes. Hey, Last Jedi. After all tropes tend to become tropes because they make sense and or people like them.
I was gonna say I'm yes on the subversion for its own sake.
Yep.
100% Steely.
Mhm.
I personally am so tired of plot subversion being used as an excuse of like, oh well,
Bad
weren't
writing.
you subverted with that? It's like, yeah, I was surprised it
Just
happened because of bad writing.
exactly. Subversion itself is not a
Yeah,
reward.
exactly. I'm so tired of
Mhm.
subversion of expectations being used as a misnomer of bad writing.
Yep. Like, and again, even with something simple, with a simple plot, you can have nuance. Like you can have depth here, right? Like you can do it just fine. You can have some subversions if you want to, sure, but you don't need them. And just because you did it, it doesn't make it inherently a good thing. It's fucking dumb. Anyway, let's continue with this.
No, my players were surprised, so that means I'll like stroke my dick and
Right.
I'll go, yeah, look at me, I managed a subversion.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a
Actually,
story writer now.
actually, before we continue, I do need to take a piss, like badly. So,
Okay.
we're gonna take an intermission here. Sorry everyone. But we'll be right back in a second.
Hello, people in our audience. If you have a comment, now is the time to get me to see it. But yeah, dude, I just don't understand this this plot structure, so to speak. It just seems very, I don't know if I quite want to say tenuous, but questionable, I think would be a good term. Because it's simplistic in how every story is a flow chart of what can happen. Which is fine. Like that is in and of itself is not a flaw. It's just when you limit yourself to a flow chart, that chart, um,
Okay.
and you just say like, oh, these can be my only options of the tomb or whatever, your stories are gonna get kind of stale after a bit.
That's true.
Did you wash your hands, Alejo?
Yes, I did.
Damn, you're back quick. Okay.
I have a
Nope.
bathroom that's literally like 10 feet away, basically.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. One of the perks of this house. Anyway. Hi, I'm back.
Welcome.
I don't understand why we were talking about plot any. We all know you can't have a story in your RPG. That's true. Or you can only have like 2 stories every 100 years.
God.
So yeah,
I want to see him and Garibay just talk at each other. I would pay to see it.
It would. Ugh.
I would just pay to sit in a Discord call and just like sit muted with like other people and just hear them talk back and forth.
Right? Yeah.
Oh God, I want it.
I don't. Let's take this time.
Or rather, I'll say I want it, but I also watched The Room for fun.
That's fair. That's fair. So let's take this moment to thank our lovely patrons for allowing us monetary value that we can spend to make changes and such to the stream. As said, we are brought to you by our lovely patrons, as well as viewers like you who are just here watching or subscribe, like, comment, all that fucking stuff. Thank you so much. But specifically, thank you to our patrons
interact with the stream as much or as little as you want.
Exactly.
But for those who do support us monetarily, good things are coming because of you. I won't share what they will be. But stay tuned and thank you. Yeah, I know, Steely. He is kind of the opposite of Garibay. That's why he's so great.
That's true. Yeah. It's
Like,
so weird.
I know it'll devolve into an argument, and I want to be there for it.
Guy does seem to want to bring everyone to play nowadays. Yeah, he's much less confrontational than he used to be. Anyway, so
Cut off.
Thank you. Cut off their hands. Thank you to Draco Kusagi for that $15 a month. Appreciate it immensely. You're insane. Slazer as well for those $15 a month. That tier 3 of those table flips. Also equally insane. As well as Steely, who's in our chat and has been our patron for a long time, for that tier 3 $15 a month. Very much appreciate it, and fucking insanity. Always.
Steely, the boy.
Flipper
of tables.
Yes, flipper of tables. What was it? Maximus Flippimus? Yes, that's right. Then of course Drake Cross for your tier 2 table flipping, $10 a month. Thank you so much. Very much appreciate it. Mog Zero as well, $10 a month with your tier 2. Very, very much appreciate it. And of course, the final few, but not least, of course, Chris with that tier 1 of $5 a month, and then Frozen Spaghetti as well at that tier 1, and finally Kill Chrono, $5 a month, that tier 1. Thank you so much to all of you for giving us that money so that we can continue to improve the stream. Very much appreciate it. It's going towards things, as Aiden said. It is going towards things, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. We shall see. But yeah, it's ridiculous. And if you want to join the Patreon, you can. But remember, it's not an obligation. It's only if you want to. Please, do your own financial situation first.
Yes. Only donate if you can.
Exactly.
Like, we will be fine. Don't worry about us.
Yeah.
Take care of your own needs first.
Yes.
I don't want to be the reason one of you guys has to go hungry or without a D&D book.
Right. So yeah. Table Talk. If you search Table Talk together, not 2 words, but 1 word, Table Talk, not Table Talk, on Patreon, or just go to patreon.com/tabletalkdnd. You can find us there if you want to support us that way. There is also, of course, the donations through Streamlabs, which if you're in the chat here, you can type in !donation. Again, not an obligation, just if you want to add to our PayPal that way. There's also a direct way to do so through our website. But again, no obligation, just if you want to. Other than that, there is, of course, if you want some physical objects, our logo can be got on t-shirts and masks and mugs and all of that stuff over at TeePublic. If you search Table Talk, you can find us. You can find the logo, and hopefully we will have more designs soon. We shall see. But yes, that is all of that. So thank you very much.
Admit it, were you ever gonna put our logo on masks before 2020?
If the option was there, sure. I don't see why not.
Well, okay, just killed my bit. That's fine.
See, I countered your bit with a counter bit of yes.
And I'll proceed to sandbag.
My yes and was bad. Oh no. But yeah, that's all the things for that. So thank you out there for supporting us in whatever way you see fit. Other than that, let's continue with this interesting video that I am super just yeah.
Invested in?
In a way, I am, just because I want to see where it goes, but also I don't know. Anyway, I didn't think this would take this long, to be fair. So let's continue.
PC has drifted away and wouldn't see the landslide, and also the landslide couldn't happen because you described this area as flat. And only on the other side are there hills, because you knew you needed a landslide later on. So you could throw in some earth elementals. Maybe they've been disturbed by the campfire that the two PCs are building. Or the landslide that happens later on, they've been disturbed by that. They could attack briefly. But the moment one of them takes damage, let's say something along those lines, it then dives into the river itself and causes a slight landslide or a disruption in the water flow, and the PCs can get across the bridge.
An earth elemental voluntarily jumps into the river.
Dives the water, which means death for it.
Yeah, that sounds... And I understand these are weak solutions, sure, but at the same time, why don't we just not even go for the weak solutions? Let's go for strong ones.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't have to be brain dead ones.
Yeah.
It's not a bad idea. You're linking from the next marker backwards. Both of these have... they're both pretty straightforward and they're pretty obvious. So what if the river suddenly explodes because two massive water beasts are engaged in fighting?
I will say, I do like the idea of earth elementals.
Yeah, sure.
Perhaps make some bit of lore about earth elementals breed in like hordes, basically.
Okay.
And then like part of a mountain explodes out on the same side of the river that they are in. And it slides down, blocking the river, which still gonna have to deal with that problem.
Yeah.
But they're also like dealing with like 5 or 6 or 7 earth elementals. And it's like then an interesting and noteworthy combat. And you're also against the clock of the timer you're against the you're backed up against the clock in dealing with the river, which is backed up because you're trying to find a way across the dirt while you also have to deal with the earth elementals.
Yeah.
Like, that can be pretty noteworthy.
Oh, yeah, that definitely could be. It doesn't have to be noteworthy, though. We don't have to make this a whole thing. I don't know. We've already talked about many different ways that we could go about this.
Bellows are so loud that all PCs hear it, even the one gone shopping. The two monsters fight, breathing massive amounts of frozen water at each other. And in their battle, they change...
Do you know what frozen water is called?
No, okay. I don't.
Me either. Anyway.
Change the flow.
I've never encountered it. I've only lived in Maine my entire life.
I was gonna say, I've only been a human for my entire life.
Man, I love going to the fridge where the frozen water dispenser
gone shopping. The monsters fight, breathing massive amounts of frozen water at each other. And in their battle, they change the flow of the river, or they reduce it, or they freeze it. The PCs can now sneak across. Those are basic solutions. Okay, so look at the marker that's coming up.
Basic is now weak.
Drag some inspiration.
That's two different words, my man.
It seems Naruto-esque, but it can be very good as either a plot hook, because you now know of the existence of water beasts.
Right.
And those can be a future problem for them to take care of.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's just a very cool and creative way of adding to the depth of your world.
It very much can be. That's the thing. And in that situation, what you've done is created a new situation that they have to handle now, instead of what you wanted them to just go to. Because, I mean, let's be honest, they're quite close to a town, as you have now told us many times, that they are within walking distance.
Within bellow distance.
So now that couple of monsters that are fucking destroying each other in this kaiju fight, which is awesome to watch, but also means that town's going to be in a bit of a pickle, probably. I don't know if the town guard is Monster Hunter capable, right? Like, but that might... It might even... Like, this is the other thing. You're now thinking of the most optimal solution here. The most optimal solution that they are taking, because they might go, shit, there are water monsters here. We should protect the town and, like, stay in town and not go across the river until we figure out why these water monsters... Oh, we got a donation. Why these water monsters are a thing.
Yeah, that town is gone now. Yeah. Probably. It seems very, I don't know why, but it strikes me as very Naruto-esque.
Yeah. Steely donated $1 and said, somehow frozen water, baby doesn't sound as good in the song. Very good. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Hey, you know what? In its original, it was a stolen song.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they stole it from Under Pressure, so it would force a chord change. So I'm for it.
Yeah, that town is gone now. Yeah, oh, absolutely. That's the thing. We like again. This is the most you are hoping that they go past because of these monsters. Now you are betting now that they are quite literally going to follow your railroad. Like, you're really trying to get them there. If
what you could do,
yeah,
this is a bit sketchy.
Okay.
But what you could do is like pick out squares and say, pick where your character is, and then have the two water beasts go on initiative counts, like battling each other.
Sure.
And have the players like roll initiative as well, and see if they want to move or take an action or heal each other or something.
Sure. Yeah.
And then pick out, there'll be an attack here, there'll be an attack here, there'll be an attack here, and like you have to do all of this prep ahead of time, because you don't know, you're not choosing squares where the attacks are based on your party.
Right.
There's just an attack in this that happens to be in this direction, as like one water monster sprays water at another water monster.
Yeah.
And there's this random path of squares that is damaging.
Yeah.
And if there happens to be a PC in it, then rough for that PC.
But again, this goes off the assumption of they are going to cross the river right now. Right? Like,
this goes off the assumption that they're at the edge of the water, and that a monster attack was going to happen and was waiting for them to show up.
Yeah, well, obviously that too. What I'm saying is, like, just because this solution has now presented itself right now very conveniently for the players doesn't mean they're going to take it. Right? Like, that's very assumptive, I think. Unless you know that they're going to, in which case, okay, I guess, yeah. But at the same time, who the fuck, like, in their right mind is gonna see two giant monsters going at it and go around them in, like, such close proximity? Right? I don't know. It's a lot of assumptions.
If you see two big water elementals surface from the river and start to duke it out, you're gonna go, I'm not going to be around.
I'm going to wait that out. I'm going to go back to town, I think. Tell them about it. Prepare.
I'm going to do a bit of shopping.
Exactly. Very Naruto-esque. I can't believe it. I feel unclean now. Sad face.
God. God. Ugh.
All right. Let's see these strong examples, please. God, please give me strong examples.
From that, what is currently happening. Now, the more advanced solutions that you can do is to take a step beyond the next marker. What is the next act? What's the next major step? What happens after they get to the temple? So according to your plan, the PCs would find an amulet of extreme power, and that later on a cult would try to steal it from them. So Act 3 is the cult stealing from them. if your PCs are unsure of what to do, as in this example, it means that they're not really getting your adventure. Or they have no idea how to get your adventure. You've been too secretive about the tomb. They don't really know where they're going, so they have no drive.
Real quick, I have a question I've got to rewind for.
Yeah, go for it.
So we see the 3-act structure of the plot structure, right?
Yeah.
We see Act 1, beginning, middle, end.
Yep.
Act 2, middle, Act 1 has the subset of like the beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
And then itself is divided into beginning, middle, and end.
Yes.
Sure, whatever. Act 2, the middle section,
Yeah.
the beginning, middle, and end are all like made specific. We have a collapsed bridge, a discovered tomb and explore, find amulet of power, cult tries to steal amulet, yada yada. Why does Act 1 beginning not? Oh, I suppose it's because in the scenario that he built for himself, adventurers are just trying to cross a river.
I think that this is just the next point in that, yeah. So,
I was gonna say it's very, very weird to have a beginning, middle, and end for part 2 and 3, but not for 1.
Yeah, it's just it's obvious that the part 1's beginning, middle, and end just don't matter at the moment, right? Like that's not.
Yeah.
They got to this point because they did something, and it doesn't matter what they did. They're here.
It lies outside the scope of this video.
Yes. Yeah. Either that or look at all that XP. That's true. That is something that could happen, very much so. But that's the thing. I don't know. It depends on the scenario that you've made, the levels. Like this is a lot of information that we don't have from his example that he has made for himself. To try to prove his point that he just hasn't given enough information about. First off,
are you saying, Alejo, that he's being intentionally vague?
I would never say that. Never ever. Anyway, this is very, I don't know. So now he's trying to tell us that instead of going so far forward to where they're going next for the bridge, we think about the next act to get them there past this river. So I'm very confused as to how we're going so far in the future to get the past.
To do, in this example, it means that they're not really getting your adventure.
Right.
They have no idea how to get your adventure. You've been too secretive about the tomb. They don't really know where they're going, so they have no drive.
Okay, so now we're assuming that because they don't know that they need to cross the bridge, you haven't given them the information that they need to cross the bridge somehow. Which is fair to a degree. You can get to the point where they haven't discovered the information yet that makes it so that this is relevant. Regardless of that fact, if they want to go across the river, they want to go across the river. If they don't want to go across the river, then we figure out how to make it so that they don't go across the river. Or, sorry, that they do go across the river somehow.
If they don't want to go across the river, the landslide won't happen.
Right. Exactly. Or the giant kaiju fight, right? Like, what we need to do now is figure out and maybe even improvise at this point of what we do next to get them to the goal that you need, I guess, right? Or we change it a bit, I don't know, somehow to make it so that what they're doing next will lead them to some sort of information that ties in to get them across that. Like, there are many ways that we can handle this, and none of them need to be big giant monster comes out or going, it actually would go, I didn't give them enough information. How do I make it so that it's natural that they can get this information and that they can get to where they need to be? But also we go consequences, I guess. Maybe we institute, like, because you don't have the information yet, you're going to be wasting more time. And so whatever is going to be happening later is getting closer to happening. or is happened, right? Like, I don't know, maybe we can have something more complex than everything is waiting for you to get there so that it happens. Maybe we can have a little bit more complexity than that. I don't know. Maybe. Bleh.
This saps your pacing considerably. If your PCs are lost, if they don't know what to do, they're not going to be doing anything. So all that you need to do is try and pull your acts closer together, shuffle things around. So have a look at this.
Oh.
In our example of the cultists in Act 3, who are then going to try to steal the amulet that the PCs found in the tomb in Act 2, if the PCs never cross the damn bridge, the whole adventure ends. They don't find the amulet.
So. Okay, sure.
If we are quite literally just going A to B with no variation of how to get from A to B, then yeah, I guess the adventure is over entirely. It's just over. They just don't know what to do, and there's nothing for them to do, so I guess we're just not gonna do it anymore. Guy.
Yeah.
My guy.
My players are confused, and I have no solution for this. So
I never thought that I would get to such a point where my players could be confused. I thought they would know exactly what I needed every time. I never put any contingencies into my notes. I never thought about this at all. I just... Fine. There's only one way, and it's across the river. Okay. All right. Sure.
I wonder what the person who went off on his own found.
He found the shop.
How's he dealing with the kaiju battle?
No, he went to the shop. He doesn't care. He heard it. He's going to the shop. Like, and now he's telling us that we can just restructure everything. Like, we're changing our entire plot. We're just taking it and we're just gonna make it work differently, right? Which is something you can do, absolutely. And I am totally okay with you just going, actually, I think it would be better if they found this here, right? Instead of going to this place, right? And then maybe something else happens if they get to this place. But that requires way more planning beforehand. Or maybe improving right then and there, which is fine. It's just, again, I don't know if we need to get to this point. I don't know why we're at this point of, like, now I need to restructure my entire campaign instead of trying to find a way for this to make sense. I don't know.
A single decision of, nah, should not kill your entire campaign.
Exactly. Let me phrase the other possibility in Guy's example. The players fail their skill rolls. The monsters notice them and they all die. That's just an outcome. Sure. That's unfortunate. That's an outcome. What has happened other than now we have a TPK. Now we have to figure out what to do next, I guess.
Oh, the party doesn't cross the river. All right, new campaign. I'll see you guys next week.
It's quite literally the same thing, right? Like, I don't know. One just involves a lot more rolling. How does this account for RP motivation? Like, if you have a Caiaphas Kane type character? I don't know who that is. Caiaphas? Caiaphas? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
Warhammer 40k.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Caiaphas Kane.
Gotcha. Sorry. My brain isn't there. I don't know all the names. I'm sorry. Who tries to choose the least dangerous option in a situation and ends up in the most danger anyway. Yeah, that's fair. Like,
Sorry, Caiaphas Kane is a commissar, not a Primarch.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Oh, was he the Tyrannid one? Or sorry, the one who sent he isn't the one who sent the Tyranids to the orcs or in the Battle of the Tyranids. The first one.
Yeah, truth be told, I do have a Warhammer 40k book. I've not read it yet.
That's fair. Hold on.
I do listen to a lot of Lorehammer.
Same. I just can't remember. Assigned to serve. One of the greatest heroes. Over 200 Terran years old when he was recalled into service during the 13th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler. Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. So, yeah, it literally, like, again, he's just going basically just off of, this is the problem. He sent the Tyranids through a Dark Eldar webway gate once. Oh, well, there you go. Fuck them. But okay. Again,
every race.
Oh, absolutely, of course.
Fuck the humans. Fuck the Tau.
Oh yeah.
Fuck Ultramarines, especially the Ultramarines.
Ultra Market Burn, that'd be fine. He's basically a reluctant hero by his own admission. Gotcha. Okay. But yeah, so again, we're at this point where we are quite literally just hinging everything on single binary decisions. It is unfortunate that apparently the campaign that Guy has made has such rigidity that we can't
cross the river. Yes, no, depends on whether or not we can continue our campaign.
Exactly, right? Like, this, again, we are looking at this as such a railroad. It's unfortunate that it is, but that is all this is. It is just a big railroad.
Why was this left up as a question of, like, what do the players want to do? Do they want to continue the campaign or kill it here?
Right. It's so strange. I don't understand why we have come here. Like, why are we here?
You can do.
Tell me, Guy.
Get the cultists to arrive at the same river with the PCs.
Okay.
But now, instead of the cultists stealing the artifact,
they
try to enslave the PCs. Or maybe they hire the PCs.
Oh.
There is a temple on the other side of the river. Go into it, find an amulet. Everything is yours except for the amulet, which is ours.
Sure.
Or they just attack. It's ours. The temple is ours. You'll not get that amulet. Seeding that there's an amulet there, and there's
okay. Well, okay, so that last one I'm less of a fan of because they literally are just telling you the intention. I'm less of a fan of them just saying, "Fuck you, you don't get the amulet," when they have no provocation. But the other two I'm totally fine with.
I'm a fan of making the cultists, like, friendly at first and being like, "Nah, you seem to know your way around the blade."
Yeah. Exactly.
And be like, "Oh, yeah, I do. Oh, well, tell you what, we'll help you across this river, and you help us at a temple and provide us with, like, bodyguard and keep us safe as much you can. And we'll help out as much we can too. And everything in the temple is yours. I don't care. Just make sure that an amulet gets to us." And then the players go, "Well, that's a fucking good deal. Hell yeah, I'll take that."
Totally.
Like, wow, the DM's giving me free loot. Yay. And then you have
some of them go, "Wait a minute. What's with the amulet, though? What about that?"
And then what you do is you, after they've found the amulet for the cultists, you have it bite them in the fucking ass.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because, like, there is now a whole plot arc around reversing the damage that was done by allowing them to get that amulet.
Yeah, that's also true. And again, that changes the whole campaign. It's super interesting, I think. And so, like, I'm more of a fan of this like solution that he's come up with of just change your story a bit. Again,
don't worry, Guy, I'll do your writing for you.
I was gonna say, again, I don't know why we had to get to this point of I have to change my entire story now, but it is an option, sure, and I'm a fan of the decisions he's making, except for them going, "Fuck you, amulet." But yeah.
Combat going on, it's absolutely brilliant. And then we discover that there are cultists, that there's an amulet. It just makes your story even better. What now happens is your third act, though, is missing something. You've got
Inherently
the
better.
cultists, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well, no, you now just change it. Instead of it being the cult members who you've now already used, you replace it with a dragon or a gnome collector, a vampire lord. Take your pick.
Sure.
Your plan remains intact. Your structure remains intact. You've just changed around bits and pieces and changed the name of the thing at the end. Now, I know it's really easy to come up with when you are just sitting and you are just playing, well, when you're sitting thinking about it.
Sure.
In session, however, your brain can sometimes fail you, and you're like, yeah, what should you take away? I mean, what can you add? What can you do? The most important thing is that what is totally sacrificable is your plot structure. Your structure. Pull from one
That's
to the
true.
other and just swap them around to keep.
Why is that off center? Why is everything just really poorly formatted? What the fuck, guy? What happened? I'm
Dude,
so sorry.
I love the thing that's like falling out of the box.
Like the plot structure
Right.
itself is now left aligned instead of
Well,
centered.
only you used a tool to make the game better is falling out of the
Yeah.
box, despite the fact that there is so much header space.
Yeah, I know. There's some. Oh god. Anyway, it's a minor thing.
Keep the going. That's absolutely critical. Another thing that I would suggest you do, and this is simply based on driving the timing forward, is have a clock that you can look at just off above the heads of the characters, and then you can reference that clock and go, okay, we've spent an hour. We've done an hour now of just dialogue. I need to kick this game up. I need something to happen. So you might need to inject something, pull from a different marker, just add in a random combat. I mean, that's really, really how it can work. Now, your group might be different. You might have 5 players, and you go, okay, and every hour I want a combat and I want something social. Okay, well, after an hour of social, you need to have not an hour of combat. Dear God, that's going to slow down, but you need to have a combat in there.
It's gonna take an hour
Now,
regardless.
obviously, if your players are having a great time and everyone is engaged, screw the clocks. But I find that seldom lasts for more than an hour or two. Your players, they wind down. So test yourself the next game. Watch the time and trigger an event every 20 minutes. Switch it up from social to combat.
What if we're in the middle of something,
yeah,
guy?
That is exactly actually what points out to me as problematic.
Yeah, I understand your sentiment here is just to change things up, just to see what happens. But
so there's the issue of you can be in the middle of a social encounter and then someone bursts in wanting to like fight the barkeep for some reason.
Sure, fuck it, why not? I guess.
Or like assault the shopkeeper or something.
I'm gonna stab him. Real good.
Yeah, I'm take this magic item that I don't have the gold for because my sister is sick and I'm gonna stab the shopkeeper or something. Yeah. But the issue of every 20 minutes going to yourself, oh, well, we gotta change things. Like, we're in the middle of assaulting some bandits, and now we've got to have one of the bandits use talk no jutsu on us.
Oh, God.
The issue with swapping things up every 20 minutes on the dot like that, because you've got to swap things up, is very formulaic. And after a while, your players are going to see it.
Yeah. Then they notice, like, every 20 minutes this happens, and they go, all right, well...
Of course, you can have fun with that by having... or a 60-minute, I guess it would be, social encounter.
Yeah.
That has them like twitching at their sword and make people really sus.
That's true. You could do that. I don't know. This is strange. This is just strange.
see what it does to you. Once you get used to that, once you kind of get used to that rhythm of going, okay, I need to add in something, I need to do something, then you just punch it up. Then you can.
Can we just not go, I need to add something, and go, what is my table feeling at the moment? How is my table reacting at the moment? Do I need to add something? Or can I just... Like, he did say it before, if your table is having fun, then that's fine. But apparently, it'll stop being the case in an hour. Yeah. Whereas when we
Can I just let things play out? Or
right.
have to actively switch it up?
This is the thing, like, when we play fucking D&D, I'm fucking content to just roleplay the entire session. I don't give a fuck if we'd see combat in an entire session. That's fine. That's fine with me.
If I go through an entire session as a DM and I don't have to speak, that is actually okay with me.
Yeah, exactly. That is also the case.
Because my characters are, like, having a blast, and, like, I will have to speak, like, and set the scenes, of course.
Yeah, totally.
Be like, yes, you go here, yeah, here's what they have on sale, yada yada. But if I, like, don't have to explain shit, like, if I don't have to, like, go out of my way to, like, explain certain things, because, like, they're having, like, yeah, I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna cross the river this way, and they do that, that is actually fine by me. I don't particularly crave it any one way or the other,
right?
But, like, if, like, that's what my players, like, need in order to have fun, I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, exactly. I've just thought of something for the river scenario, is that a wizard could just go, hey, I'm gonna use my
Teleport?
No. I'm gonna use rope trick really quick. Right over the middle of the river, so that it can be up into an extra dimensional pocket space with a rope hanging down, and we can use the rope to swing across, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Something.
You go, okay, 40 minutes. It's tough, but you have to practice. And the only way to practice is to do it. Anyway, I think that that's very, very, very important. Now, usually I reserve this for the end, but it also happens to fit in this week's topic. So Dungeon Fog is the battle map maker that I have used since they launched. I really, really, really enjoy their map making.
Okay, so he says that it pertains to the topic. So unfortunately, we're not sponsored by these people, but if it pertains to the topic, then we need to listen to it. So this is not a free sponsorship. Sure, if you like it, fucking go do your own research, but we are not condoning the use of this. Maybe it's good, maybe it's not. I don't know. Go check out for yourself.
Guy is condoning the use of it.
Guy is, and if you trust what Guy is saying about it, then go for it. That's fine. Use his link in his video. Go find the video.
If we haven't spent the past 17 minutes and 41 seconds tearing this video apart,
right,
and you still want to trust Guy's word, go for it. I don't care.
I mean, for something like this, I'm fine with him saying, yeah, it's good. Like, there's no issue there. I don't know. I'm just saying it's not our sponsorship. I'm going to make that entirely clear.
And they actually help pacing. Well, to be fair, any map helps with pacing, right? Provided that you can do it quickly. And that's one of the things that I like about Dungeon Fog, and that I've done this before a live show, and people have watched me doing it. It's build a map in 10 minutes before my live game, and it actually looked pretty good. It didn't look like I'd only done it in 10 minutes. So that's a really, really, really good indicator in terms of if you don't have any time, Dungeon Fog is really good at saving you time. I mean, the assets and miniatures, all of those things should never slow down your pacing. You should never sit there going, oh, I've got the mini, I've just got to find it in my 10,000 minis.
Okay, so we're talking about pacing in terms of setting up the game, and playing the game in getting out physical things.
I'm still confused how a map helps with pacing.
I think it's because I don't know. I have no idea.
No, do that. Don't let the players wait. Send them for a bio break. Send them for drinks. Get them going somewhere. Just don't
That's true.
stop.
No, this is fair. If you need time to do something, fucking give them
this I agree with.
100%. 100%.
Although I've never heard of a bio break being used only for the bathroom. Like, usually a bio break means you can also grab food or drink.
I've only thought about it as exclusively for bathroom stuff, honestly.
But if you need time, give your players a level up.
Just do it. No, I know what he means by it, so that's not too bad.
That slows things down. Anyway, that's it from me for this week. What do you do to make your games faster? I hope that you hit the subscribe button to make your games go faster. That might work.
Yeah, subscribe to our channel. That end bit, that was very quick, by the way. That was a very quick sponsor thing. That was neat that was so quick. But also, how the fuck
that was going to be the way that sponsorship went.
Yeah, well, I don't know, because like how the fuck does that pertain to the map itself helping your pacing? Because like the creation of the map, I guess.
Story evidence. I did it once and it worked out for me, so it will work out for you.
Gotcha. Okay.
It was easy for me to do, so it'll be easy for you to do.
Right.
And you should take my word on this.
Right.
And don't ask questions, just get excited for product and consume next product.
Yeah, I don't think it's that bad, but yeah, no, it's definitely like I don't have enough here to say that this is going to help me with pacing at all. Like the only example that I have here is I can make a map in under 10 minutes, and that is fast. And I go, you had a week before your last session. I don't know. Maybe you didn't have the time, sure. Okay, that's fair. If you're stressed for time...
I'm a busy man.
Yeah, if you're stressed for time, then I guess so. But that shouldn't detract from the overall pacing of the entire game, I guess, for you to draw a very simple map. I don't know. In some ways, I suppose you could have the players help flesh out your world. Like, is there anyone in town with a boat who we could hire to take us across the river? It turns out there is. Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. You can use these things that the players come up with to then add more to the world. Absolutely. That's a great idea to do. At least it's not Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, that's true. But man, I don't know. I'm just like disappointed with this overall. It's not like it's not informative. There's some parts in here that I'm okay with.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Overall, I'm just like, why are we so close-minded about different possibilities? You know? Why are we...
Does it Pizza Funk?
What? I'm just glad the ad ties into the topic of this video. It's not just an ad. I think that's sarcasm. I hope that's sarcasm.
I hope so.
Because it kind of tried to, but it wasn't really anything.
It reeks of the energy of guy going, "Oh, I know some way I can figure out a way to incorporate this into my video," and then not actually.
Right. Like, again, if the pacing argument is quite literally just, I only have 10 minutes before my game to make a map.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to bring the pacing down in the game. Yes, it was sarcasm. I knew it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Just kind of limply going, or no, not limply. What's the word? Flaccidly. Just kind of flaccidly going, I'll work this in.
Yeah, I know. It's very, very much not a strong point. The sponsorship. I wouldn't have said that. I would have just said thank you to whoever I already forgotten to, and then just gone to the sponsorship, because fuck it. You know, you can maybe make that a point in your thing to say, yeah, if you don't have time, then you can make something really easily, and it should make it so that your prep time for your game is a lot faster, right? And then, yeah, sure, fine, okay, you've made a claim that you've kind of backed up a little bit, but it's not ultimately something that you've said, this pertains to my topic.
Yeah, you've made a claim and you've backed it up via what's it called when something's only backed up via a story?
Not circumstantial.
Yeah, something evidence.
Yeah.
Not tangential.
No.
Well, it is, but fuck.
Hold on. Only reason the evidence could be true.
Evidence via story.
Argument from ignorance? No, I don't think so.
No.
Thanks, Wikipedia. I don't think that's right.
Anecdotal evidence.
Anecdotal. Yes, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, and Steely said it too. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. That is entirely correct. Anecdotal. But yeah, anyway. I had planned on a second video today, but this took literally almost 3 hours to do, and I think that's plenty for this topic for now. The other one is a 10-minute video that was from Quest Givers, but I don't think we need to go over it right now. I think we're okay. So I think we've talked about pacing enough for now. We can go over it again at some point.
Ironically, we have talked about pacing while compromising our own pacing.
That's true. But no, I think this is fine. But yeah, so that's gonna be it for today, everyone. Thank you for listening, watching, whatever you've been doing. Very much appreciate it. Thank you again to our patrons, which I will pull up again on the screen here. Give me a moment. There we go. Get out of that into that. Draco Kusashi, Slazer, Steely, Drake Cross, Mog Zero, Chris, Frozen Spaghetti, and Kill Chrono. Thank you so much for your generous donations to the Patreon, and for allowing us to continue the show like we are. And don't forget that you can, through the Patreon, in fact, you can join our Discord and have Patreon-only stuff, which we haven't been doing too much of on the Discord itself, but hopefully we can do that at some point sooner, as well as you get early access to all the content that we are posting before it goes public, if you join the Patreon, as well as some specifically Patreon-only things. So yeah, join that if you want to. Only if you want to and if you can. Other than that, you can find the stream live on Tuesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then you can find the VOD on Fridays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and again as a podcast, audio-only podcast version on your podcasting service of choice around 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Mondays. Devils and Dice will be posted on Wednesdays occasionally when we are able to do it, and it's all up there and such. So that will be on Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you want to tune into new episodes of that. And soon there will be the first dreadful depiction of Dracula Untold. So if you are excited for that, I hope you are, because it's gonna be it's a journey.
Dude, yeah, it is a ride.
It is a journey. I don't know how I'm gonna break it down to a watchable degree for you guys, but
just do what EFAP does and upload the whole thing.
Well, I'm doing that for patrons. That's the thing. And no, they edited it down a lot, actually. They edited theirs down a lot.
No, just do what EFAP does and upload the whole thing.
Oh, okay. I've just never watched one, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that and then assume. Anyway. yeah, that is coming. There's a digital distraction video that's like 6 or 7 minutes long. That's just a fun little thing that Boo and I did. And then more of those kinds of things will be popping up between things. There's also, at some point, we're going to do a building and painting stream for Warhammer Figs. Not sure when exactly that's going to come because I don't have my paints and I don't have all the tools necessary for my orcs that I got in. So that will come when it comes. Please be excited for that. I will update you guys more when we get that going together. But I know Boo is also making and painting other figures that he'll send in pictures of as well. But my camera might be really shitty right now. I'm hoping to get a better camera as well at some point. We shall see, but that will come way later. Anyway, so thank you again, everybody, for hanging out and indulging my ramblings of what's coming up next. But yeah, that'll do it for us for tonight. So good night, everybody, and we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.